Okay, can you guys hear us now? It looks like it's working right now.
Yeah, we have sound. It's
We
not
had
coming from
to
that.
we had to very promptly change it to a new set, as you guys might be able to tell. Our air conditioning went out upstairs due to an electrical issue, which is why we're sweating partially, but the other part is carrying everything downstairs.
So we are broadcasting live from our basement.
Live from our basement with our television in the background. Hope you guys like this background because that's what we got today.
For the TV people out there, this is my big TV. Very, very proud of it.
Anyway, I need to figure out why the microphone wasn't working though, because that's should have been. So, anywho, so before we knew that we didn't have sound, we were saying hi to everybody. So we will say hi to everybody again because we have a great crew on tonight and we're super excited about it. So hello to Nick Peterson and Miss Shay, Tessier and Ronnie Dove, Alex Capicco, Katie Smith, Ryan Donahue, Ellen A, aka my dad, Megan Morris, yeah, Malcolm Hogan all the way from New Zealand. Always fun to have you on.
Mo.
And Mo, oh my gosh, Mo, thanks for staying up to join us.
We're so happy to have you all with us.
Yeah, and we need drinks. So Derek's gonna start chatting with you guys real quick, and then I'll be right back.
If anybody is wondering if we're like lagging a little bit, like from like an energy perspective, I think both of us are suffering slightly from cheese coma. We partook in a cheese tasting event at like 4:30 our time, so I don't know, 2.5 hours ago, and had lots of delicious cheese. It was very, very good. But now we kind of feel like wheels of cheese. So that's what's happening over here. It was a really cool thing. It was like a virtual it was a virtual cheese tasting that Murray's Cheese did, which is a fairly famous cheese shop in New York City that they do. So basically what you do is you pay the money, and then they send you a box of 4 different cheeses with different accompaniments. So we did the French cheese pairing today, which was pretty cool. And it had like blue cheese, it had a very soft cheese, it had some of the harder cheeses, there was a raw cheese. They sent like apricots and chocolate bars and things like that pair with it all. And then they had somebody kind of walk you through it online and tell you about where the cheeses come from, how they're made, the different anatomy of the cheese. They call it the cheese anatomy or whatever. So the rind and all the other good stuff. So it was a fun event. We actually opened up one of our Vouvrays that we bought in the Loire Valley.
I'm drinking the final glass of it, and then I brought you 2 Trulies.
It's from Domaine Huet, or Huet, I don't know which is a really cool vineyard in the Loire Valley that does a lot of like organic-ish type wines, I think, and we liked it. We had the 2014 vintage today. It was yummy. We have a 2015 still in our wine fridge, so we're looking forward to cracking that open sometime soon and seeing if that one's just as good. And now I'm having Trulies, which is a little less special, but we're here with you guys, which is what makes it all special. So
it's so special. I'm just trying to figure out if I can do the sound.
All right, do we still have sound?
Oh, it's gonna default to something else.
I don't know what's going on, guys.
Sorry for my AV activity. I really could use this glass of wine, let's be honest. But today we're super excited because we're going to talk about our top like hotels, activities, and restaurants in New York City, London, and Paris. So I know a lot of you guys have been to those places, and what we are hoping to do is make this really interactive on the live stream and just try to like crowdsource from you guys too what your favorite places are. We used to live in New York, so I feel like that's the one that we are extra knowledgeable about. I did used to live in London, but it was when I studied abroad 10 years ago. So I think I've been like maybe 5 or 6 times since. So I've definitely experienced it since. But yeah, we're a little bit more recent to the New York one. And then Paris I've been to 6 times as well. I believe that's the count. So we tried to choose ones that we were like super knowledgeable about, and knowing that, you know, there's a lot of places that we've been to, you know, 1 time, 2 times, that sort of thing, but we wanted to really, like, I don't know, establish credibility by saying that we've been to all 3 of these cities a ton, so we have experienced a lot and can really talk through our top recommendations.
And real quick, Malcolm, Truly's it's a hard seltzer, kind of like a White Claw, which I've had a number of times on these live streams. You know, it's this like newfangled thing that came out probably in the last couple of years. They've really taken off here in the U.S.
Okay, before we jump in though, bear with me. Can you guys like help out just for 1 second? I'm going to try to switch to the external microphone again. Tell us like as soon as possible. Can you hear us when we switch? Okay, let's do it.
Hello.
Okay. It looks like it's working.
Wait, shh. Yeah, it works.
Okay. I hope we finally like recovered from the sound issue then. All right. Oh yeah, Malcolm's saying he needs to try that. I wonder if do they have like a hard cider brand that's really popular in New Zealand? Because the ones here that you can find all over the place are White Claw and Truly.
Yeah, and Mo, let us know if they're still static. Okay, so Nick is saying there's a light buzzing sound now.
Oh great.
Maybe we just go with the.
Sorry guys. Okay, we'll switch it back.
Go to the native mic. All right, now we got sound again.
Thank you guys so much for bearing with us.
All right.
This is what happens when we have to change our set like super last minute. I don't know if any.
Yeah, it's like 82 degrees upstairs, so it's
Yeah.
just not. It wouldn't have been a lovely. Like you just see me like, just, like sweating. It would not be good for anybody.
But we we're carrying all the equipment downstairs really quickly. Yeah, we have the AC guy coming at 8 a.m. tomorrow. So hopefully it'll get fixed.
Hopefully.
But thank you guys for bearing with us. We appreciate you. I don't know if we've ever said that before. Just kidding, we totally have. But we appreciate you so much. And we love chatting with everybody. So hopefully you guys are just as excited as I am about our topic tonight. Okay. So Mo, I think, said perfect before Thomas Reiser said no sound.
I think we're fine now.
Hopefully it's
I feel like we'd have more people telling us that we had no sound
Yeah.
if that was okay.
Cool.
All right, so guys, everybody, Paris, New York, London.
So tell us,
That's what we're
for
talking
all of you
about
guys who are here in the chat, tell us which of the 3 cities you've been to. Probably like some of you have been to all 3. You know, some maybe 1 or 2 or something like that, or 0. So that way we kind of have a little bit of an understanding about like what your experiences are, and hopefully we can kind of tap into some of you all to hear about your experiences too. So Derek and I think I was talking about this when it was a little bit buzzy, but Derek has actually been to London and Paris and New York now that we don't live there, many times over the past 2 years for business. I have been able to go with him for a lot of those trips. And so I've also last fall went to Paris with my friend Megan, who lives here now, on a separate trip. So we've done this a lot. I don't know, what do you want to start with?
Well, I want to start with
Hey Scorpio Sue, welcome.
saying hi to Scorpio Sue.
Yeah.
Scorpio and Sue.
Scorpio and Scorpion, I feel like, are very different things. I mean, I guess it's the symbol for Scorpio, but yeah. All right, so Michelle says, okay, wait, sorry, it's jumping. So I think Malcolm was first. He said he's been to Paris and London. Terrific. So I think New York then would be a no for him. And then Michelle, London and Paris, but over 20 years ago. And then my dad said I actually found the LaGuardia Delta Shuttle Terminal interesting with its history plaques. So
Yeah, those are
fun
actually pretty
fact,
cool.
I believe what you're talking about now. So it used to be called like the Marine Air Terminal. It still might be, but it actually is no longer a Delta terminal. It's a JetBlue terminal. So Delta moved all of its operations into Terminals C and D at LaGuardia, and then basically allowed JetBlue to come in and kind of take over the Marine Air Terminal, which is like, I think it's Terminal A, if I believe, and it's like just a little bit away from the rest of the airport at LaGuardia in New York City. Anywho,
So real quick though, because Michelle asked what was our favorite cheese.
Oh God.
What was your favorite cheese? Here's the names of them.
Yeah, no, I can tell you right now. For me, it was the Roquefort blue cheese.
It's not a Roquefort.
It is a Roquefort.
It's not.
I read the label.
It's a Bleu d'Auvergne.
Yeah,
it's not
so
Roquefort.
no, it is a Roquefort. It was.
You don't know. It's not a Roquefort.
It
It
said
talked
Roquefort.
about Roqueforts as being similar to, but more robust than what this is.
Is that why
This
she
is a
kept saying
milder.
Roqueforty?
Yes. Yes.
Are
Like
you sure?
Roquefort. Yeah. It's not Roquefort.
Man.
Roquefort is a sheep's cheese. This was
This
a
is what
cow's
happens
milk.
when you promote your live streams during a cheese tasting class.
Yes. But it was actually really good. It's like a mild blue cheese,
what-
lots of mold, a lot of blue stuff in
What
there.
region was
It's very
it
tasty.
from? Why was she talking about so much
Auvergne.
about Okay.
Bleu d'Auvergne.
Me
It was very
too.
tasty though. It was really
So
good.
I'm a big blue cheese fan. I know that like lots of people out there aren't. But my second choice was definitely the like brie like one. What was it called?
Which one? The Fromage de Affinois.
Sure. I think it's just
Fromage.
pronounced fromage.
Fromage de Affinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really good. That was my favorite. It was like
It was
the
basically
like
a brie.
melting cheese kind of thing. It was
It
really
would
cool.
go so well on a French baguette. Like we were like, where is our baguette? We did not come prepared. It was so delicious. So if any of you guys, actually, I can pull up a photo of our spread because we used our cheese platter.
It was quite tasty.
Yeah.
It was a very decadent experience.
So this is what it looked like
Ooh.
that we were drinking and
It's like
eating.
super.
Yeah. Yeah. It's reflecting, isn't it? But hopefully you guys could see that.
Yeah.
It looked fun, and it was fun to eat. Anyway,
Cool.
so that answers that. Where do we leave off? So we said LNA about LaGuardia. Megan's been to Paris and New York City. I'm actually surprised, Megan, you haven't been to London. And then Mo says he's just been to London, Paris next year, hopefully. Definitely hope for that too.
Very cool.
And then, Scorpio Sue says London for her. Nick D says 1 day in Paris, several days in New York City and London. And hello, everybody. So hello, Nick
Hey,
D.
Nick.
Welcome. I know we were chatting a lot last night. It was fun to talk to you. And then Thomas Fraser says London, and then transited Paris and New York too. Cool. I know that Thomas Reiser's like huge into London, just like me, so I'm super excited to hear your recommendations, Thomas, on this conversation. And then, all right, Michelle says, planning on London and Paris next year if all goes well. Oh my gosh, fingers crossed. Same. I cannot go back to London and Paris enough. It is my favorite now. It's actually my former roommate lives in London. And she and I were just texting earlier today a little bit just about how much I miss it because she just had a baby last fall, and thankfully I got to go to London and visit her and meet the baby before COVID happened. But I feel like I'm missing the baby grow up. Ugh, sucks.
Yeah. Fortunately, I have not met the baby yet.
Yeah.
I was working.
You and the baby would get along, I think.
I'm a baby at heart.
Yeah, that's it.
You're supposed to disagree. You're supposed to say no.
I'm just kidding. No, like PG loves you. Everything, all the little things love Jared.
Including my wife, who's quite little.
That's true.
Okay, yeah. So Capitco is saying, I once heard that NYC is called the city that never sleeps because the hotel beds are all extremely uncomfortable.
And hi, Richie and Vanessa Travel. Nice to have you guys on. And they say that they've only been to New York.
All right.
But yeah, we'll get into sleeping in New York and our hotel recommendations for that.
Yeah.
We definitely experienced way more uncomfortable beds in Shanghai and Beijing than in New York City. But I'm sure you can find lots of different options within New York. So, but the ones that the hotels we're going to talk about have decently comfortable beds. So, Nick Peterson says Paris, London, and New York City for him. On his trip last year, he did all 3. Crushed it.
Nice.
All right, so Nick's going to have some very recent suggestions too.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, they are trying to confuse you at LaGuardia. And actually, LaGuardia is under like heavy construction, so it's going to look like a totally different airport. I think for all of us, I don't know how many of y'all have flown through LaGuardia, but like it used to be very like just not modern, not updated, and so over the past couple of years it's been under construction, and it's like crazy traffic just to get to the airport, like especially if you like are trying to get there on a Friday, you know, right around rush hour or something like that. You need to leave very early. And my understanding is all throughout COVID they've kind of been working on it, so I think it's going to come out of quarantine being like a pretty fancy schmancy airport. I don't think they're going to be done by any means, but they're making progress while there's
with a lot less people traveling, I would expect they would get it done quicker. Same thing with O'Hare, which is working on some revamps of its stuff. You know, I'll say the last time I went, not the last time, but one of the last times I flew through LaGuardia, I think it was like an hour and a half from the city, from like Midtown, which is insane. And the last probably 30 minutes of it was probably the last 10th of a mile. The problem was that it was pouring rain, so like we were in suits and like nice shoes, and we're not willing to like get out of the car and run for it. So we were very much like, we're gonna miss our flights. But we made it by the skin of our teeth. Like we were the last people on the plane. They're like calling our names and stuff, but yeah, it's, you know, it can be pretty bad at times.
Derek has a lot of those where he's like, I was running through the terminal. Welcome, Peter Melander, by the way. I don't think you've been on here before. If you haven't, I'm sorry. But it's so fun to have you on. I know we've connected a lot on the Walters World stuff. He says he's been to New York City, but honestly tends to go to Boston much more. We can actually, I can relate to that. Boston's a wonderful city, and it is a very different vibe than New York too. It has a ton of history in itself, and great people. I have to say that because I have a ton of family in Boston. So, yeah. All right, so I think I skipped a couple. Ronnie says he's only been to New York. Well, Ronnie, we're going to be talking about a little bit of London and Paris today, too. Hope you're on board with that, but let us know your New York suggestions. Katie Smith has been to all 3, so can't wait to hear what she has to say. Kapika says, you already read that one.
Yep.
And then, hi, Mom. Welcome. Yeah, we're trying to stay cool.
It's cold in our basement, so that helps.
Yeah. So the basement has a different air conditioning system than the upstairs, so thankfully we're okay. Down here, we were just a little bit like, I don't know, out of breath from carrying all the equipment down.
Lights.
Yeah, lights, microphone that doesn't work.
Chairs. These chairs are normally not down here.
Yeah. These chairs we had to carry down too. And this is the basement that we held up in a lot actually in the past month. Okay, and then fall is called autumn here, Malcolm says. Yes, and I believe it's late autumn for you. So we kind of, I don't know, I guess in America I feel like when we're feeling fancy we say autumn. Yeah, I don't know, like what
I say autumn.
Yeah, like
autumn, fall.
People say autumn for sure.
Autumnal equinox.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. They're kind of interchangeable, but like autumn's just a little bit fancier. Then okay, so I already read that. Ronnie says haven't been to LaGuardia in a long time. I just know it was pretty bad when I was there. I don't know if you mean with the construction or with the like state of the airport. before construction. But yeah, either way, like it's never been anyone's favorite airport. It's not bad, like, and it's the closest one to the city, and it was the closest one when we lived in Long Island City for sure. So we flew out of there a lot. It was just never like good.
I really like Nick D saying, I've been through all 3 major NYC airports. One guy lost his mind at a JFK Starbucks because his panini was served room temp.
That's fun.
And some of those like airport Starbucks, like they can't make the food hot, so you kind of need to know that in advance because they might not have like the ovens
like they can't
or
heat
whatever.
up the bagel or something like that.
Yeah, so you only get it kind of like cold. So we'll a lot of times avoid those if that's the case. So.
Yeah. And by the way, bagels at New York City Starbucks, not good. Like if you're in New York City, go for a New York City bagel.
It's like pizza. Don't go to Sbarro.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Hello, Steph Taylor. Hello, Travel Best Destinations. Oh, I'm so happy to have,
Cheers.
It seems like several new faces tonight. So just for anyone who's brand new, we are talking tonight about New York City, London, and Paris top recommendations from us. And I'm hoping that if you've been to any of those places, you can share yours too. So we're going to talk about hotels, activities, and why do I keep forgetting the third one? Hotels, activities, and restaurants. Yeah.
Sure. Why not? But why don't we start?
Nick agreed with me about autumn and fall. Yeah, we say both.
I feel like autumn, I say, is
They're synonyms.
as if you're being more like correct, right? It's the more correct thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. Let's move on though. Why don't we start?
Thanks, Katie. By the way, yes, if you are watching, please hit the like button. It really, really helps the channel and just helps YouTube kind of like know that we're having a great conversation and invites others to join. So, yeah, definitely is super helpful for anybody who's on to just press that like button, and hopefully not the thumbs down button because that'll make us a little sad.
Yeah, but hey, so why don't we start? Why don't we start with London?
Okay.
Do you want to start with London?
Sure.
Or do you want to start?
I can start with London.
All right.
We good? Okay. So
What do we want to do? What do we want to?
I would say so for hotels.
Accommodations first.
Yeah, accommodations first. I've stayed at everything in London. Derek's mostly stayed at like
everything.
Well, hostels, Airbnbs, 3-star hotels, 5-star hotels. Like, yeah. That's the city that I feel like I've actually stayed at the most varied accommodations, and in a lot of different neighborhoods. So,
Start with neighborhoods. What neighborhoods?
Yeah. So I guess let's narrow it down. I particularly like to either stay in kind of like the Notting Hill Queensway neighborhood, which is just north of Hyde Park on the west side of the park, or in Islington. I have stayed in a lot of other neighborhoods, but those particular ones I find easy to get to from Paddington, for example, if you're taking the Paddington Express straight from the airport. Or I feel like Islington is just a really cool area, very neighborhoody. I also recently, for the first time, stayed in the Covent Garden area, and took the tube all the way from Heathrow to Covent Garden, and it was like a pretty direct shot. So that one's kind of coming up in third place for me for sure. But that area is way more expensive too. It's kind of like by a lot of the theaters and super nice restaurants and super nice shops like the Chanel's and everything like that. So that's if you feel like spending money. Sometimes I feel like saving money. So that's where I feel like, especially in that Queensway neighborhood, there can be some really great options, and you can jump on the Central Line really quick. And that's actually right around where I lived when I studied abroad in London. I actually lived right next to Kensington Palace, but it was before any of the royals occupied it. So it was completely empty. And then like 2 years later, Will and Kate moved in, and I was like, hey, they would have been my neighbors.
Nice.
But anyway, so Islington's really cool. It's on the Northern Line, which is like the black one that kind of runs north-south. So you can get to it pretty easily, even if you're taking the Paddington Express. You might just have to take it to Paddington and then jump on the tube from there. But what's cool about Islington is it has a lot of more neighborhoody restaurants, and a lot of more locals go there and fewer tourists. That being said, it's really super easy to get to like the tourist sites from there, so that's why I like that one. I have stayed at a Airbnb there and a DoubleTree up there, and both of them were great. The Airbnb, the only issue that I had was that it wasn't air conditioned, and I was there in July, and it was like super hot. Derek, you were there for a couple nights of that.
Yes.
It was hot. It just fell.
Wait,
yeah.
Wait, which one was this?
The Airbnb that was like on the 3rd floor.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
of course.
2018.
An Angel.
Yeah, the Angel stop in Islington. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was.
There's a lot of supermarkets right there too, and like not the
nice.
city side, like the urban type supermarkets that are really small and have a very select amount of things, but like big ones right next to the Angel subway stop, and so that's clutch if you're staying at an Airbnb.
So the thing I'd say about Europe generally, especially if you're staying like an Airbnb, that's somebody's like apartment or something along those lines, is understand what the air conditioning situation looks like, because as she was saying, the time that we were staying at that Airbnb in around the Angel Station, it was like a major heat wave through Europe. It was mass. Like everybody was like, it was like a record number of like sunshiny days.
Like London's known for
high.
being super green, and everything was
brown. Everything was brown and like dying. But the locals loved it. Like all the Londoners were like, "This is phenomenal! I'm getting a tan. It's great." Meanwhile, we're like dying. We're like, "Oh my god, it's so hot." And there's no air conditioning in a lot of buildings because they're not used to it, because it's usually a relatively cool climate. So the place that we were staying at didn't have a air conditioning, so we had to go buy a fan to blow on us, because that was the best we could do, and it was let's just say it was a little uncomfortable.
And it was
so
hard to find a fan. Like, of course they were all sold out because there was this crazy heat wave, and we weren't able to like order from Amazon like you would kind of from home or something like that. So we're just like, where do we buy a fan? They don't have like Bed Bath & Beyonds here. What are you doing?
Making room for my phone.
Oh, okay. You're kind of cutting me out of the shot.
It's my show. It's not my show.
It's the Derek show. Anyway, so I also just want to go back. So we stayed at a really cool, like I think it's like a 3-star hotel. I wrote it down, actually, it's not on my phone. Over by Queensway, which is super easy to get to, like only a few subway stops from Paddington. It's called the Grand Royal London Hyde Park.
Oh yeah. It's one of those like really old
building, like
big fancy stairway, dark mahogany type woods.
All their staff was wonderful.
Yeah.
So that one's like a little bit more affordable option that still gives you kind of like a luxury feeling.
Yeah.
And then Derek stayed at like several 5-star hotels over in the Mayfair area, because it's close to his office.
Yep. So stayed at a number of places over there that are really nice. The Athenaeum is really cool. We stayed there a couple of times.
I think that was my top.
It's over by like St. John's Court and whatnot. And that place is really cool, the Athenaeum, because there's a really nice Spanish tapas place that I guess we'll talk to when we get to the restaurant section.
We can just jump into the restaurants next.
Why don't we just jump into the restaurants real quick? Because I think it's important that you stay somewhere near restaurants that you like.
Oh, and actually, I should have said this before. That's totally like why I'm recommending the neighborhoods that I am too, on top of being, easy to get to once you arrive into London. But there's certain neighborhoods that I feel like really cater towards the tourist crowd, like Westminster and Kensington and stuff like that. And those don't have great restaurant selections, and especially like ones that locals go to. They feel a lot more few and far between. So that's another piece of why I'm recommending the neighborhoods that I am, so that way you have access to food, that you have access to grocery stores. I don't think there's like really any bigger supermarkets in Kensington, especially not in Westminster. But then you'll also have access to like just affordable restaurants. So, the only one that we found that we even like in Mayfair that's affordable is El Pirata. And I've gone now
El
like 4
Parada's,
times.
yeah, I've been there a number of times. I've taken like coworkers there. I've taken her there and her family. It's really, really tasty.
And
I
they'll
highly
cater to
recommend
like
it.
dietary restrictions.
Yeah.
So like if you're gluten free or dairy free or something like that.
Well, London's actually really good with that. Like even like
Yep.
pubs and things like that, they'll bring you like the allergen menu. So like each thing has like there's like different columns of like vegetarian versus dairy versus like all the other things like gluten and whatnot. So they're actually really good about that.
Yep. So that brings me to why I recommend the next one, which is a small chain in London called Giraffe. And they have lots of different types of
It's
dishes.
like natural food, right?
Yeah, but it's very healthy food, and like when we were traveling with my uncle, for example, who is actually allergic to dairy. Like I'm lactose intolerant, he's actually allergic, so it's a different thing. They gave us a full allergen menu breakout. Like it was a chart. I think they printed it out from Excel. So they just were really super accommodating. The food was delicious, and there's one that's super
right on
close.
the Thames.
Yeah, right on the Thames.
Yeah.
Kind of super close to the Tate Modern and
The London Eye.
Eye.
Yeah, it's right
So
by
if you're
London
going
Eye.
to one of those locations, I highly recommend stopping there. There's also another restaurant
And they're open for
chain
lunch.
that has a location kind of really close to Giraffe over there called Oaxaca, and that is supposed to be like a Mexican restaurant. It's definitely not the Mexican that we're used to here in the States or in Mexico, but it's pretty good. They have good guac and really fun atmosphere, like tons of colors in all their restaurants and stuff. And there's like we've been to the one I think over by the London Eye, and I stayed right next to one in an Airbnb by oh my gosh, what is it called? The one that starts with L. Leicester Square. So yeah, it's really fun. It's a good restaurant. And Thomas is saying he likes GBK and Five Guys for a burger. So Five Guys we don't really go to in London because it's a U.S. Chain. I think GBK is too.
I don't know what GBK is.
But
But
I've definitely been to
I will
GBK
say though,
in
for like a
London.
burger place, Five Guys is one of my favorites. Like their burgers are actually really, really good, and seem to be higher quality than you would get at most fast food type chains.
I would say if we eat burgers in London, it's typically at a pub, and that's kind of like the last thing that we'll talk about is pub grub.
Yeah, I was gonna say my other thing is like any pub.
Just
any pub, or any chippy, any of the like fish and chips type places. Highly recommend those. The places that like that's what they do is they have fish and chips, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Mushy peas, but I really
I
like
love
going
the
to
mushy
pubs.
peas, and Derek hates peas in general.
I give
and so
her
he
my
gives
mushy
me
peas.
But
I always force
quick
myself
poll,
to have one
let
bite.
us know if you like mushy peas. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I just don't like peas. I'm not a big fan. But I always force myself. I have one bite. I say nope, still don't like it, and I give it to her. So
Yeah.
that's
But
kind of my thing.
We always order fish and chips at a pub whenever we're in London. That's like the thing. We went to a
It's
really good one,
Very.
and I'm not kidding. The name of the place is called the Coal Hole.
Oh yeah, the coal hole. Well, it's
All
also
the fish and chips were so good there.
that's also in like the basement of a
Hey, Lori Sands,
super like well-known fancy hotel in London.
The Savoy.
The Savoy Hotel.
Yeah.
So yes, the coal hole is a fun name. Sounds really fun. And it used to be like where they used to like have the coal and they used to burn it for like the Savoy Hotel. And now it's a really cool pub. And I like it. I thought it was a great place. Had a good fish and chips the last time we were in London, and yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. So another
The first
pub
meal
that
we
I-
had when we went to Scotland, guess what? Fish and chips. I mean, that's what we do.
It was. Another pub that we recommend in London is the Champion, and that is right on the edge of Hyde Park on the very north, or it's like right by Queensway, basically on the northwest side of the park. And I would go to that pub every single week when I studied abroad. It's pricier, but it has really, really good food too. So like, go for lunch and like get a drink, get a meal. Yeah. Team Eliz on the mushy peas.
By the way, Lori Sims, welcome. Good to see you. Scorpio Sue is also saying mushy peas equals yum.
I feel like this is a 50-50. This is a polarizing.
Don't they put like mint
poll.
into it, like too? Like they put some mint in the mushy peas.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's just literally mushy peas.
But the other question is, do you use vinegar or do you use ketchup on your fries?
I still use ketchup even when I'm in. You'll switch to vinegar when we're in London, I think.
Yeah, I'll put a tiny bit on, just to say I did.
Yeah.
Thomas Reiser, Team Derek regarding peas.
Yeah, so is Katie Smith and Megan Morris. Nick isn't with me.
Polarizing moment. Yeah.
This is a good poll.
Yeah, and
if you haven't had mushy peas, go to London to have them. Like, just don't have them in the States because they just don't know how to prepare them here. They taste different here. I don't know what the ingredients are beyond peas, but like they screw it up here. I don't know.
It's the GMOs, man.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, it's funny because one of the other things when you go to London is whenever you get ketchup, they always give you like a packet of ketchup. Like that's it. Like you get like one packet, and so you need to like be very assertive and ask for like, no, I need more ketchup.
Malcolm, what do you do if it's not vinegar or ketchup? We need to know.
Oh, or tomato sauce.
Nick D, yes. Okay, mushy peas. Oh, Mo has we need to hear it. So mostly a pass, but I've had some that were good. Go to the coal hole, everybody.
That's how I feel.
And order the fish and
chips.
I've
had some where I'm like,
and just try a bite because they are superb, in my opinion. And I feel like you can have bad mushy peas. Like, it's people that like just mush up peas. There's something in the recipe that some people forget.
Malcolm, yeah, I'm usually more of a just salt kind of guy on my fries. I just like fries. I like the taste of fries. If I'm in Belgium or I'm in Amsterdam, I will do the mayonnaise to dip them into, just to be. I actually kind of like that, but I don't think I would ever do that here because I think that I'd get a lot of weird looks. Actually, in the U.S., what I'll do is if I'm going to mix anything is I do a little bit of mayonnaise with some ketchup mixed in, make it kind of like that like pinkish sauce, and that's pretty good. But
So yeah. Lori's saying, I love English fish and chips. It was my son's favorite when I took him on his first trip to Europe, and the pubs are great, totally. And then she says, my son and I were served mushy peas and could not figure out what the hell they were at a pub by our hotel.
That's
I know, because it's foreign. Like,
well, you see it and you're like, what's this mushy green stuff?
We do not have it in the U.S. Literally, you order fish and chips here and you don't get mushy peas with it.
This is how I feel every time I get a charcuterie. Is I'm like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know what I'm supposed to eat it with. I know I have cheese, I have meat, and then I have other random stuff, and I just don't know what it goes with. So
thank you, Mark Finley, for stopping in and
hey,
saying
Mark.
hi and welcome. And I know you have family stuff tonight, it sounds like, but stay on as long as you can because we want to hear your opinions about mushy peas.
Also,
also
tell April we say congratulations.
Yes, congrats to April on the new job.
We're very excited to hear about the dog bakery job. That sounds really, really cool. And yeah, she'll make some puppies very, very happy, I'm sure.
Yeah. And thanks to everybody, including Mark Finley, for leaving likes. I can't really actually see in real time what we're at, but appreciate everybody who does. Thank you so much. It really helps. Righto. So I think we can move on into activities in London.
Sure. Why not? London Eye. Why not?
Okay. So I feel like London Eye is polarizing as well.
I'm a polarizing guy.
Derek and I love it, but it's because we do it intentionally. Like, we will buy tickets in advance for a specific time, preferably like
early.
Sunset or early in the day, because like around like anytime between like noon and 4,
hey,
it's just
something happened.
crazy.
Something happened. It's not going. It like ended.
It ended. Okay. Are we still live? Please let us know. There's nothing that says that we're not, so maybe it's your phone.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I might have screwed something up. Sorry, guys. Nope, we're still here. All right, thanks, Peter.
It says we're still, yeah. Okay, thank you,
All
Peter.
right. It was my phone. I apologize. I don't know what happened. I got really concerned.
Thank you for...
There was that one time
Everybody
where, like,
got to
we
see
were
Derek's
off.
panic. Yeah, there was that one time that it, like, literally just stopped working. And that, it feels like that would happen today to us. That's the kind of day that we're having right now.
Well, so my problem was that I saw Travel Adventures with Eric B. say, "Hey, what's up, guys?" And I thought Eric Brown was telling us like something's wrong.
Aww.
And so I got really concerned because then like
Hi,
my
Eric,
screen was stopped.
Welcome.
So I got little... Wait, does Eric have two? Wait.
I don't know. All of a sudden,
Hey,
he's
two
Eric Brown
accounts.
again.
Now he's Eric Brown again.
Bingo. Thank you.
Bingo, bango, bongo.
Yeah.
All right, but
so I subscribed to Eric Brown's channel, by the way. He has a couple videos up. He just
Very
posted
cool.
some new ones. Yeah. Anyway, so we were just about to transition over into our top London attractions. So if you guys have your top ones, definitely put them in the live chat too. My all-time favorite, and if anybody ever goes to London and says like, I have a day or 2 days, where should I go? I always say Tower of London. Like, it is the top attraction. If you know anything about London history, it has so much to offer you. Plus, it has the crown jewels. So if you go to Tower of London at the beginning of the day, like right when it opens.
We've talked about this before, so sorry for repeating ourselves, but we think this is like a pro tip. Tower of London should be your first stop in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So continue.
Exactly. So don't go to Tower of London like second half of the day. Go to it right when it opens, and then sprint to the crown jewels.
Yeah. Like as soon as it opens, get there.
Be the first few people, and even if you're like not the first person at the Tower of London, most people don't know that they should like sprint across the entire thing to the crown jewels. Like you kind of gotta
just
be
sprint, but just like walk with a purpose.
Yeah, walk quickly. I don't know.
I think if you sprint, you might get tackled. I don't know. Like,
the beefeaters might like start looking at you a little funny.
And those guys in those costumes, the beefeater costumes, they're actual like Marines, so they could probably take you out.
Yeah, and they live there too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so walk as quickly as possible to the crown jewels area. Because that gets so crowded, and in order to go through, you basically are like on this moving walkway, so it just gets super like you're like right against people. You don't get a lot of time with all the crown jewels and stuff. So in order to experience that exhibit, the best, it's like just go first thing.
Yep.
Once you leave, I think it opens like at like 9:30 or something, and then there's an actual beefeater tour about like every 15 minutes, half hour, something like that, all throughout the day, and you can join at any point. So once you leave the crown jewels, just go join whatever the next beefeater tour is, and it's so fascinating to learn about the history. I mean, it's been a castle, it's been a prison, like it's where Anne Boleyn got executed. Like it's
a lot of people got executed there.
Yeah, and the beefeaters live there now. It's super neat, and it tells a lot about just the entire.
It was built by
history of
William the
London.
Conqueror. You know, it goes back to the Norman invasions.
And they'll tell you
1092.
all of this like cool info that you wouldn't really pick up on your own. So after the beefeater tour, then you just tour like the ramparts and everything like that. Take your picture with London Bridge, because that's a great spot to do it.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Tower Bridge.
Tower Bridge, not London Bridge.
Yeah. I mean, you could take a picture with London Bridge if you look the other way, but you
not
don't
very
want
scenic,
to. It's like.
Tower Bridge is the nice one right by the tower. It's gorgeous. You can see it. There's also the it has a weird name. What's that one that kind of looks like an egg?
Oh.
The Gherkin?
The Gherkin.
The Gherkin.
Yeah,
it's a weird name. The Gherkin building.
I think the Dementors like bashed that in Harry Potter.
Makes sense. But that's also, you can see that from there too. It's pretty cool. You can get some pretty cool photo ops there.
And speaking of Harry Potter, because somebody very wisely said what I was going to also say, is definitely do a walks.com tour. So it's
Yeah.
just called like London Walks, basically, and they are free tours. You definitely want to tip the tour guide, so like expect to go in being like, all right, I'm going to tip, a decent amount, because those tour guides like
They do a
deserve
great
it.
job.
They are phenomenal. So we took a Harry Potter tour with my entire family, and it was so much fun. All of us have read the books, so like if you haven't read the books, they have other ones too. Like they have Shakespeare tours, they have like history of the city of London. They have like, oh my gosh, they just have everything. You can go and look at all their schedules. So like if you're interested in something, they will have it. So definitely recommend that. And my final one is, if you are planning far enough in advance to go to London, I think like a few weeks in advance or a month in advance or something like that. One of the best views that we've had was actually at the Sky Garden. So you can pay to go to the top of the Shard and stuff like that. The Sky Garden is free, and you get a very comparable view of like all the sights of London, but you have to reserve tickets in advance.
Yeah. And they don't let you take tripods and stuff like that, so just something to think about if you do more photography stuff. But it's a really cool experience.
And there's like a bar and restaurant at the top, and a really cool garden.
I have
Hence the name.
Yeah, so it's the Sky Garden, so it's like an indoor like botanical garden, which is pretty neat. I will say the bar, I have qualms with the beer selection. They don't have any like real English ales. In fact, I think the only beers that they had the time that we went were Heinekens and Peronis, and I was just like, come on. Really?
Yeah, that was funny.
I was just like,
why aren't there British?
It was actually one of the first
beers
places
here?
that we went to, one of our last trips to London, and I was like, I'm gonna have an English ale, and then I get there and they're like, Peroni or Heineken? I'm like, neither one of those are British.
Mo says definitely go to the top of the Shard. So I want to know, are we missing? Like, I mean, I think I've been to the top of the Shard.
I've
if I'm
never
being
been to the top
honest.
of the Shard.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a similar type of experience.
Yeah. I will say the one thing
I think you would enjoy going just for your photography stuff, though.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the one thing I'll say about the top of the Sky Garden is that you're always looking through glass and everything, which I guess would probably be the case everywhere. But yeah, it's got some interesting views. It's pretty neat. Yeah.
So I just want to say, so Nick says, I did the Jack the Ripper tour in London, and it was awesome, which I assume, because I know that they do a walks.com Jack the Ripper tour, so I'm going to assume that's what you're talking about. There might be others. And then Malcolm says he did the Jack the Ripper tour as well. Our guide could have been the Ripper, strange-looking fellow. That's terrifying.
Mo is saying a channel I recommend is Love in London. Very useful info for London. We actually really enjoy her channel.
Yeah.
She's great.
I actually subscribe to her
really
too.
good.
Oh my gosh, what's her name? She's from New York.
She's an American in London, and she has a lot of good, like she has like city, like she has maps that you can download and whatnot that have like different destinations.
3-day guides. That you
she
can
has
download.
a lot of great resources.
And even in quarantine, she's like, if you miss London, I've created a London coloring book for you. And I was like, yes, thank you. Hey Nick Barnett. Oh good, we have all the Nicks here. We have quorum. So
That's funny.
Sorry, I'm laughing at my own joke. It's embarrassing.
I mean, we have two Eric B's. We have a Nick Peterson and a Nick Barnett.
We don't have all the Megans because our roommate Megan is still on her own Zoom calls. But we have Megan Morris here, which I highly appreciate. Anywho, so
Seems Lori is also subscribed to her.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, and Jess Dante.
Yes,
Thomas
Jess.
Reiser.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Thomas. Like what? I was gonna say Jamie. I'm like, that's not right. Yeah, her name's Jess. She has like really cool. We went to Brick Lane Market and explored some of the specific shops that she like recommended there. So if you are going to London, I just recommend binging her channel. And she even talks about like what to wear based on time of year.
What to pack, like how to look now like a tourist.
Yeah, how to
really good stuff. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So what else? What else in London? So I guess one of my things in London is
We can also talk about day trips from London.
I was about to say that. I was like, getting out of London is actually kind of one of the things, because London's a great city, but at the end of the day, it's like a big multinational. It's a big multinational city. So like, it's obviously got its unique characters, got its unique flavor, but there are some very easy and I think rewarding day trips, pretty close to London, where you can go off, explore, have a good time, and come back and still stay in your hotel, so you're not packing up all your stuff. The two that come to mind that I really enjoyed were the Bath day trip and the Canterbury day trip.
We even did like an overnight in Bath one time because we love it so much.
Well, we did a whole like Cotswolds tour in Bath.
Actually, yeah, you're right. It was like many nights in Bath, wasn't it?
We stayed like 3 nights.
They have a really cool tour in Bath too. So if you guys are ever in Bath,
we do like a haunted bath.
It's this like it happens at dusk. And the
it's
tour
like
guide is
Bath after dark.
Yeah. Well, it's not like raunchy or anything, but it's just
like Mark was saying.
Goes
Skinemax.
Yeah, it goes through like a lot.
Because Mark is now here.
Oh my gosh!
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Walter's World. Welcome. We are we've just gotten almost through London, haven't we? We are talking about London, Paris, and New York today. Our top recommendations for those 3 cities. I feel like we're all missing them. Maybe it's just me.
Missing who?
And Derek. Missing those 3 cities.
Oh yeah, yes.
I'm like
I haven't been to any of those in months, and it's crazy.
I'm literally missing them so much.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to New York at least like once a month for work. I used to go to London probably once every 3 months for work, and Paris twice a year. So like now I'm just like,
Yeah,
like,
it's painful.
Yeah, it's very painful. It's like we haven't like. I just want like duck confit and escargot and like all the good stuff. So
So Mark's saying he saw the After Dark tour walking around when we were there. Lots of great places. I miss them too. Yeah. It sucks.
And by the way, somebody had mentioned that they've never seen this background before. So for those who are
for those who are new onto this.
So we're having some issues with our air conditioning for our upstairs. So our upstairs, where most of the bedrooms are, has its own air conditioning unit and is just not keeping up with the heat. So we have an HVAC guy coming out tomorrow morning to look at it. So we're kind of like stuck in the basement right now. So this is our family room. So that's why we have this background.
Do you guys like the background?
This is my beautiful TV.
We probably won't do it again because it was very labor intensive to bring all of the lights and these chairs don't even these chairs aren't even in this room usually. So we had to bring everything down super last minute. So we're here now, and hopefully we'll be back in the office next week.
Yeah. All right, so Bath to me is like one of the like great day trips to do, and for me, when you go to Bath, I'd say.
Oh wait, sorry. Can I just interrupt? And I want to do a PSA. If you are ever smelling something that is in the same room as your fuse box,
assume it might be your fuse box.
Assume it might be your fuse box. Assume it might be your air conditioning busting a fuse.
That's what happened to us.
The end. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had an electrician in today for a long time. Now we have the HVAC guy come tomorrow morning, and yeah, it's a whole thing. So what I was going to say is, so for me, Bath is great. Pair it with a Stonehenge stop-off, because you don't have to spend that much time in Stonehenge. But it's something to see, and something that I highly recommend. So stop off, see that, go to Bath. While you're in Bath, think in advance and get high tea. I highly recommend the Royal Crescent. There's a hotel there on the Royal Crescent, which is a very like lovely place. It's like in the back of a hotel in a garden area. They do a very nice high tea. I would just like splurge and make that your high tea for your trip. We did that together when we were back in college. No, was that not college? That was
no, it was like a few years after college.
A few years after college.
Early 20s.
Yeah. But we also then did it with your family, went back to the same place. It's very nice. And it holds up to like when we were younger to like now. It's still very nice. And so I would do that, and then the Pulteney Bridge is really cool. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff there. Do the whole Bath tour. Like, go see the Roman ruins.
So clearly,
There's a lot to
Derek
do.
likes Bath better than London because we asked him what he wanted to do in London, and he said go to Bath.
I like London too. Bath is pretty. All right.
Derek is
London.
like in love with Bath.
London.
As am I. But like, okay.
And so
what do you
is
want to
Nick
do?
Cage.
True. Nick
Nick
Cage
Cage
bought
owned like 3
2
houses or something like that in
Bath.
Bath.
Okay.
All
What do you want to do in London though?
In London,
Before
I
you
would say
run.
go to Brick Lane. Brick Lane's really cool. It's kind of a more alternative kind of place.
We do moisturize, by the way.
Wait, what?
Mark is saying that we look a few years out of college. We're in our early 30s. We're 32, both of us.
Yeah. So the whole Brick Lane, I highly recommend. They have really cool outdoor markets. Make sure you know the dates that they do the market there, because I think it's on like Wednesdays or something. I don't know what day it is, but it's one of the days. So just look it
Brick
up in
Lane,
advance.
I think, is Sundays for sure.
Sundays?
And then maybe another day. But there's also like Portobello Road is on
Portobello Road,
Saturdays.
yeah.
I believe.
So just make sure you know when the outdoor markets are, because they're very worthwhile,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend them. At Brick Lane specifically, you can get some really cool, like, there's really good like Indian foods nearby that you can get, like street foods and stuff like that. There's this map guy there that's the
Oh my gosh. The Spitalfields map man. I am like best buds with him.
We like old maps, so we bought some like 1800s maps and stuff from that guy and brought them back of like London and different stuff that we're gonna frame. So yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So we love the markets. We do try to go to like one maybe. So if we're there for several days, we'll try to go to one but not do multiple. Because we do like to go to Tower of London, and I also really enjoy just like hanging out in Hyde Park and exploring the different parks and stuff like that if the weather is nice. If the weather's not nice, my favorite museum I think in London is probably the Tate Modern, actually. And I'm not like a huge modern art fan. I just I really like the way that it's done. I think it's a cool museum.
Yeah.
There's also the National Portrait Gallery. I'm giving it an honorable mention.
And I would say there's nothing that like we go to London where like we go there every single time. Like we're not like this is the
Tower
thing.
of London I love going to, but you're right. I have not gone every single time.
No, but the Tower of London is the place where if we're there with somebody who's never been to London, or like where must you go, Tower of London is like the historical thing that we're like, you kind of got to go there because so much of like London history is taking place there that it's important to see.
You know what I do go to every single time is I always go to Marks and Spencer's for lunch at least once.
Okay.
And I do one of their takeaway lunches because you could find whatever you're in the mood for there. That's just like cheap, easy, every time. Done.
Yeah, so and then the other day trip that I was talking about was Canterbury, which I thought was really cool. You can do like a punting tour in Canterbury.
Yeah, but you can also do
see
punting
the
tours
cathedral.
in Oxford and Cambridge too, and
Yeah.
all 3. We've done 3. At least I have. Have you? No, we didn't. Okay.
I did.
I love the punting tours everywhere. I think
did
they're
Oxford.
so fun if the weather's nice.
Yeah, we went to Oxford.
And we also did a Cotswolds tour just to like circle back. If you guys go and you're wanting to do the Cotswolds, I recommend renting a car versus doing like a coach bus tour because you're gonna want to like explore maybe certain towns longer than others. And we just, I don't know, when we were in our coach bus, it was like, okay, everybody back in the bus, let's go, and it just didn't feel right. So
Yeah. So one of the other things about London that's pretty cool is
yes, Thomas Reiser, the cookies at Marks and Spencer's they have literally anything you want.
What's
It's
the
so
name?
great.
What's the name of that place that has a lot of food? It's like one of those like old school. It's like multi-level. It's not like a Harrods, but it's kind of like that. Starts with an H. That you went to. It's like all decked out for Christmas.
Oh, Fortnum and Mason.
Fortnum and Mason. That's the one I'm
that's-
taking. It's
yeah,
not with an H.
not Harrods.
Fortnum and Mason is pretty cool too. So like some of these like old department store type places, but Fortnum and Mason has like multiple floors that are like food related, and in their basement they have like really good, like you can go get like hot food orders and stuff like that. So eating at a place like that can be really nice.
Harrods does that too, though.
Yeah. But like those are pretty cool, and it's like it's a little bit different than what we're used to in the United States as far as, you know, department stores go. It reminds me a lot of, if you've been to New York and you go to the Plaza. The Plaza has a food hall in the basement that you can go down into.
We're hopping
and that's
kind
of like it, and it's similar to me. So
yeah.
But I just want to give
Last
an
one
example.
is, I feel like we love just the Covent Garden neighborhood and walking around to all those shops and stuff, and it's a lot of Londoners really love it too. And there's a specific area in that section of London called Neal's Yard. Google it if you haven't heard of it. It's like this little back alleyway that's just super picturesque and has different like areas to drink or eat pizza or whatever. And a lot of people go there like after work, if they work in the area and stuff like that. So
and
Neal's Yard.
One honorable mention, which is a food place, is there is a Din Tai Fung in London.
There is.
In Covent Garden.
We were told that it's not as good as all the other Din Tai Fungs. I did go.
Yeah.
I've been to as many Din Tai Fungs as I can.
More than I have. Well, actually, no. We've probably been to...
I don't know. Yeah, you went
similar.
To several in Asia without me. Anyway, really great soup dumplings if you guys are into soup dumplings. Those aren't very Londony.
What's that soup dumpling place you went to with the dog influencers?
Oh, shoot. Let me Google that. I should totally let you guys know.
Fifi Toffee.
Yes.
So Eliz connected with some
some
Instagrammers who have very adorable dogs, puppies, whatever. They're like miniature poodles.
3 miniature poodles.
They're quite adorable. And she went out and got a little tour of Covent Garden area with them and their owners, and they went to a soup dumpling place that was like super cool.
And it's dog friendly.
It's dog friendly, all the places they went to, obviously. And one of the places they went to, is they have these like soup dumplings that have like straws out of them, so you can like suck the like soup out of them, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it was pretty neat. So Liz enjoyed that.
I'll figure it out. I can't figure it out right now for some reason.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So the next place I guess we can go to is what, New York?
Yeah, because you just mentioned New York. So
let's go to New York.
We'll hop across the pond and then back across the pond.
Well, before that, do we want to go through some of the comments?
Yeah, let's do that. That's even better because everyone's talking about their London stuff. Sorry, I was still trying to figure out the place I went to with the soup dumplings. And the soup, you could literally drink the soup out of a straw. So cute.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right,
here
I've
it
got
is.
to go way back.
Red
Okay.
Farm, London. Okay, wait. So, those are the dumpling soups. Those are the dumplings.
Those aren't
okay.
dumplings. Those look like tamales.
They were dumplings. With the straw.
And puppies.
And puppies.
Mainly the puppies. Okay, so Peter Melander saying, I've only been to London once and I only had 2 days, so we just did walking tours. We stayed right by the tower, so we saw that first. I will say walking tours awesome. Hop on, hop off buses. Ho-hos. Is that what they call those?
I think so.
Ho-hos. I mean, I think that
While you talk, I'm going to get some more wine.
can you bring me more Trulies
Sure,
or
I can do that.
Michelobes or something?
Yeah.
Bring me my koozie.
Okay.
The hard one. So I will say that ho-ho buses, hop on, hop off. I actually really recommend those. If you have never been to a city, jump on one, use it to like get a lay of the land, so you can figure out, you know, the next few days what you want to see and do. I think that that's actually a valuable thing. So we did that in Glasgow. We did that in a number of places. So those are pretty cool. Beef eaters don't like it if you say they are wearing a dress. Malcolm, yes, do not say that. It is a uniform. They probably also don't like to be called a costume, I would assume. Nick Peterson, yes, the Tower of London, very cool. Eric Brown, yes, we were talking about the background and what you see here. Yeah. And Malcolm is saying to Thomas Reiser that the best sites are in the little towns just outside of London. And that's one of those things where, like, London, Paris, New York, these are like big metropolitan cities. So that's why I said, like, get outside of the city and see a little bit of, like, what's around it. I think I would agree with that. And I think that Bath, I think the Cotswolds, those are pretty cool places to see, and you can see some of that more authentic character and history and all that stuff. But London still has its own flavor and je ne sais quoi, or whatever, which is pretty cool. Laurie Sims, the tower is awesome. I love the monkeys that are on the walls. Jewels are great. Nice and relaxed way to spend time, mid-late afternoon. Never saw crowds the last three times I've been. I booked skip. Interesting. I've always seen, like, the line being pretty long, so that's why we always recommend people get there, like, early. Just start your day with that. It's also a good way to kind of, like, give yourself a little bit of a kick in the butt kind of thing. To, like, okay, we're here, we need to, like, go do some stuff, so, like, just get at it. So that's what we do. Thomas Reiser, I'm a modern train enthusiast. Yes, you are, sir. Nick D, push everyone out of the way. You don't want to be the only person to leave without a crown jewel. Yes, like Carmen Sandiego. Scorpio Sue is saying we went in August so that we could tour Buckingham Palace and did the Royal Mews. It was worth going to. It's interesting. I've actually never been inside Buckingham Palace. I've been all around Buckingham Palace, like outside and all the, like, different things around it. The St. John's area is, like, pretty cool with all that stuff. Highly recommend that. Pretty cool. Nick Peterson is saying that the Churchill War Rooms in London is where Churchill orchestrated World War II from. His room, where he had his phone to the White House, was disguised as the bathroom. Yeah, we've actually never been to the Churchill War Rooms, but that would be a pretty cool thing to see and do. Kind of like the Cliffs of Dover and all that stuff as well. Travel Best Destination.
Hi, Travel Best
Very
Destination.
good information. Wait, are you opening another one of these?
I did.
Where's my glass?
I thought you wanted a Truly.
Now that you're opening another,
Then I'm happy to get you a glass.
She's trying to
Hi,
cut me
everybody.
out.
I'll be right back.
All right, so this is the 20. Did you offer Megan any? Okay. I just want to make. I mean, this is like a good wine. I'll offer it to our friend. So this is the wine that we were having with our cheese tasting. It was very good. Clos de Bourg. It is a semi-sweet 2015 Domaine Vouvray. It's delightful. Or at least the 2014 was. I'm assuming the 2015 will be as well. And
Megan's watching Top Chef on now.
She's not on our live stream?
I think her and Fiji are chilling.
Yeah. Alright.
Alrighty. What are we talking about? Cheers. Still talking about London?
I was pounding through these.
Nice.
So, Mo, definitely go to the top of the Shard. We will, sir, next time.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper tour, okay.
Yeah, I read the Jack the Ripper tours.
Laurie Sims. Last year, Burroughs Market and Jack the Ripper in the evening, also Shakespeare Theater. So the Globe Theater, I had read some articles that it might shut down after COVID permanently. So,
I also read that
go
they
check
were
that out.
doing some, like, you can pay money and then, like, watch one of the old performances.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in theater, definitely check that out. You can maybe experience it, at least from the comfort of your home.
So, Malcolm, British don't drink their own beer. It's all foreign rubbish. Yes, sir.
Interesting.
All right, so that's one of my favorite things to do in London, and not just London, but just England, right? Is I really enjoy going to the pubs and getting like where they have to pull the ale, right?
It's like I want a cask ale.
I'm like, is it room temperature. Okay, yes. Okay, that's what I want. I want to try that. And to a lot of Americans, like that might be like, oh, that's weird or whatever. But like the flavors are nice. It's a little bit less carbonated. So telling people, I want a flat, warm beer. But no, it's actually really good, and I highly, highly recommend it. So, and Lori Sims is saying that the Jack the Ripper is twice as good at dusk. So I would yeah, that makes sense.
That would be pretty cool, because that's like brings you back in time, I bet.
Yeah. Scorpio Sue is saying take the day trip to Hampton Court, completely worth it.
Hampton Court's awesome. I also really like I'm kind of a nerd, so I really enjoyed the Greenwich Museum, like the time, standing on the prime meridian, everything like that.
Yeah. So all right, I guess we never talked about that. Greenwich is pretty cool.
Yeah, and we took the boat to Greenwich. Like, you can take the train over there, but we took the boat down the Thames, so it made it extra special.
Yeah. So Malcolm is saying Jack the Ripper tour booked through Secret Chamber Tours Ltd. Nice. Mo is saying that his favorite part of London is the museums, and yeah. So one of the cool things about London is most of the museums are free.
Yeah. Which is once we go into the New York section of this chat, that's a caveat that they're not.
They're not. Technically, a lot of them are like, oh, we take donations, but like their recommended donations like $25 a person.
For like $30.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Malcolm is saying that Bourne End and Henley on Thames are great within an hour of Paddington, and Walters is saying Bath is great, which we all know. Nick Barnett's, I've been to London many times and I love it. Could def live there if I was paid enough. Only thing I hate is how expensive it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, London's
I actually have said to my family a number of times that I would live in London. It, to me, feels closest to my personality. Although Paris is getting up there and they're completely separate cities, very different.
Very different.
But like London to me has always had a special place in my heart, and when we announced to Derek's family that we were going to move to Chicago, they thought that we were telling them that we were moving to London. They were like, we were.
My mom started crying, thinking that we were moving across the sea, and said we were coming
because we talked
closer.
about it so much.
Yeah. Also, hey, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be something.
She's like, oh my God, you're actually going to be close to me. I thought you were going to move abroad.
Yeah.
Someday maybe we will, but like.
We'll see.
Not yet. Nobody wants us Americans right now, so.
Truth. Thomas Reiser is saying that he has a friend just outside of Canterbury, and that's pretty cool. I think Canterbury is really awesome. There's a lot of history there.
Kent is lovely.
Yeah, County Kent is
actually
lovely.
I have a former high school friend who lives out in Kent.
And Kent was also one of the old Anglo-Saxon kingdoms back before it was United England. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Mark
Nick D
Walters,
says he would pass out if he saw John Lennon. Me too.
Isn't he dead?
It's been. I assume we all know that he's dead. I don't know if we have to break it to Nick, but yeah. You know what
Did somebody see John Lennon? I'm confused.
I don't think he was joking.
Okay, wait, Mo. If I see Paul McCartney playing in that club while I was there, I'll pass out.
Oh, so I was very close to Paul McCartney when I started abroad in London, but I didn't actually get to see him with my eyeballs. I worked at Stella McCartney as my internship, and he came into the store one day, and we all kind of had to because we were in the back office, we had to be on our best behavior and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right below me, on the floor below me. I grew up on the Beatles. My parents are obsessed. So, yeah, I mean, I would definitely pass out if I saw John Lennon because he's dead, but also Paul McCartney would be a huge celebrity sighting.
Oh, yeah. So Nick D is saying that he enjoys the Tubes too, as long as he remembers to mind the gap.
Yes. And there are certain places, both in London and in New York, that you have to kind of be careful of that gap.
The gap can be large, but London's is don't know. I've never felt that way in London so much. Maybe I've just never been to the right stops.
Welcome.
Nick Barnett is saying, I can totally relate. Used to be in both London and Paris often for work, so I really miss those cities, especially now since I've gotten to know them a bit. So yeah, that's tough. Scorpio Sue is saying, my son loves history, so at some point I will take him to London. London is a phenomenal city for history, but I would highly also recommend Rome. Rome is, I mean, for a history buff, there's almost no better place.
You were like on cloud
if you like
world,
if you like world history, it's pretty phenomenal.
We got to go to Athens and Turkey for Derek too.
Yeah,
we'll get there soon.
That's the whole thing. Is like you could like make things like the Greeks actually made things and the Romans imitated it. You know, it's like I'm not gonna get too much into it.
Lori's saying we're buffering, so I hope that's not for everybody right now. Let us know if.
Hopefully it's
there's any
okay.
issues with
I'm not seeing
stuff.
too much buffering on my phone, but maybe.
Righto, what's next?
Mark Walters is saying, we aren't here for the lights, we're here for Eliz and Derek.
Thanks, Mark.
We have the lights
We're
though, guys.
so happy that not only Mark's on and Jocelyn, but all of you guys are on. We are here for the community. Like, we look forward to these live streams so much. I know that we're kind of dragging out the London
I'm here for
part,
the wine.
right now. And we still have
you.
2 more cities to talk about. So, like,
we might
thanks
not talk
you guys.
about 2 whole cities.
No, we're gonna get to those.
Oh,
so thank you guys for staying with us. And like, I hope you guys are just as passionate as us, because like we miss these cities and we love talking to you. So this is a great combo. Mary
Ellen Dillon says, when I went to Stonehenge years ago, we went to Bath too. So yeah, it's a fairly typical day trip to do. Is you kind of put them both together because they're kind of on the way of each other.
Yeah.
Go past Stonehenge and you hit Bath.
Speaking of Stonehenge, we are throwing a Stonehenge Summer Solstice Saturday soiree at our house.
That is a tongue twister.
The invites are just people who live here, including dogs and people. But we are theming it completely British. So we played with like, do we want to theme it summer? Do we want to theme it Britain? And we are doing like British.
So Megan, our roommate, is she's quite the baker, we learned. So she is going to, I think, make scones or scones, depending on where you're from.
She also might be making chicken
get
pot
some
pie.
Clotted, shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie.
And we're gonna get some clotted cream and jam, and then we'll like mix it up. You know, do we do it Devonshire style? Do we do it,
But if you guys are also doing that this Saturday, please let us know, because we can all connect while we're enjoying the beautiful Stonehenge sunset and sunrise.
Mark Walters says, few years after college, I thought you two just graduated in 2018. You must moisturize.
That's what I was
That's funny.
Responding to before.
Yeah. Lori Sims, I would like to spend my next week or so on a trip to England outside of London. So much more to see. Yeah, 100%. And Mark is telling Mo that it was Walter's World After Dark.
Yeah.
It was more PG-13 than our usual PG rating.
It was fun. We had a great time last night. We had to drop off towards the end, so sorry about that.
But it was funny, when you got out the adult.
You also, Mark always compliments Derek so much. Mark, if you're still on, thank you. You guys
really
are
like
so sweet. You have your like bromance going.
I really enjoyed the adult like popsicle thing, the slushy thing that Jocelyn makes. That was pretty fun.
I like that the kids haven't
really cool.
started eating it yet too.
Yeah, you got to keep count of those. Yeah, but they're still tuning for that.
Derek's dad makes a lot of like Jello shots, and those are important to keep away from children for sure.
Yeah. Currently, no young ones to like keep it away from. So that's the good news in our family
right now.
Nick Barnett says, you guys are almost exactly the same age as me. I'm 31. Very cool. Yeah. Thomas Reiser.
We were born in 88, and I believe you said you were born in 88 too. Maybe you're just towards the end of the year.
Yep, I am January. So Mark Walters is saying that I know that store. I don't know what store he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about the one that we talked about that had the food. Something and something.
Oh, Fortnum and Mason.
Fortnum and Mason. Very cool. Thomas Reiser's 55.
Yeah, Nick Barnett.
Lori is telling Nick Barnett that he is young. Eric Brown's 39. Yesterday, happy birthday, Eric Brown. Very
and
cool.
Lori, wait, wasn't Lori Sims' birthday yesterday too?
God, so many birthdays.
There were birthdays yesterday, and I felt like really celebratory.
It's very cool. Nick D is saying to catch some music at the Troubadour. It's been around since 1954, so that's very cool. And Scorpio
cool.
Sue says that Borough Market is a great food market.
I definitely want to go to the Troubadour now. I've never heard of it, and I love live music.
Yeah. Scorpio Sue, though, says that Borough Market is a great food market. Covent Garden area has some good stores, too, like places like Neal's Yard. And Nick Barnett says, I like Hyde Park. If the weather is not nice, it usually will be in like 10 minutes, at least in spring or summer. That's the other thing is like, when you go to the UK, when you go to like, whether it's London, Scotland, Wales, whatever, or if you even go to like Ireland and stuff, you know, just expect that you're going to have some bad weather and prepare for that. Bring layers, bring clothing that's like water retardant, water resistant.
Yeah.
That's a word. Okay, fine.
It
Water
is.
resistant. Bring like a umbrella or whatever, because it's gonna rain. Don't let that ruin your holiday. Like, still go out, have a good time, explore, and have some fun. All right.
Yeah.
Jumped on me. All right, let's move on to the next thing, though, and
Yeah.
we'll get back to reading some more of this stuff in a bit.
I think the next thing is you have to refute Lori Sims's claim. Derek is not part of the CIA unless you
these
choose
are
to believe
lies.
otherwise.
These are all lies. Mark is a dirty, dirty liar.
Actually, if you were part of the CIA, it's kind of like way cooler than your job.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to our roommate, and I was like, "Hey, Megan, there's a rumor going around now that I'm in the CIA." I was like, "You know my job. It's not that cool." So, no, I work in finance, so it's not nearly as cool as that.
But if you want to think that Derek works for the CIA, we are totally cool with that.
I knew a guy that worked in the CIA.
You did.
He actually worked on their investment side. The CIA actually makes like investments in companies, which is actually kind of interesting. But yeah, very fun.
Probably like facial recognition technologies.
Yeah, probably the stuff you don't want them to be.
Probably the stuff that you're like a little bit like, ooh, I don't know.
Malcolm is saying tomorrow's the shortest day of the year here. Summer's on its way. Interesting, because we're about to have our longest day of the year, which makes sense, Malcolm. You're on the other side of the world.
Yep.
Mary Ellen Dillon, I'll be locked down in my apartment on Saturday. Sorry to hear that. That's rough to hear. Nick Barnett is also from 1988.
Is it because you're tuning in live to Stonehenge Summer Solstice Soiree?
Which would be fun.
Because that's why we're locked in.
Nick Peterson's 28. He's born in 1991. And Mary Ellen Dillon is asking about the Troubadour.
No, Nick Peterson said that. Did you say that?
I thought I said Nick Peterson.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. Mary Ellen Dillon is... I just lost it. Okay, the Troubadour in West Hollywood saw a story about the worry that it might not survive COVID-19.
Oh, no.
Which is tough, but I think the
Luckily,
Troubadour
Nick
that
D
we're
is
talking about is the
saying
one in London.
It's in London, yeah,
Yep.
that he was talking about.
And Mary Ellen Dillon is also saying that I was in Ireland for 10 days 2 years ago. Not a drop of rain. Very
That's
cool.
a miracle.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's a miracle, and I hope you enjoyed every single minute.
Mo is saying can't grow long hair equals CIA.
Yeah. Speaking of hair, guys, I got a haircut yesterday. I know it's only 4 inches off, so it's not as noticeable as when
Doesn't
Derek got
it
a
look
haircut,
beautiful?
But my quarantine hair has been chopped, chippity chopped. So.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lori Sims. She noticed.
Nick Barnett is saying
It was 4 inches, so like if you saw our last one, It's just been a week probably since you guys all saw me, so it's probably harder to notice a difference.
Nick Barnett's is saying, LOL, being a former journalist, I've been accused of being in the CIA several times. That's actually really funny. Lori Sims, Westminster Abbey is a must-see and not mentioned yet.
Yes, oh my gosh.
Very true.
Okay, so Westminster Abbey's my other one that's like probably if somebody's never been to London, I recommend Tower of London, and then second up is Westminster Abbey, and specifically if you don't have to just really like the royalty that's buried there or anything like that, but there's also like authors that are buried there. I think maybe even like scientists and just like notable British people. And there's just a lot of history there too. So I recommend like reading up on Westminster Abbey history before going, and then kind of like experiencing it. What's important to know is that you're not really supposed to take photos when you're there. I don't know how that's evolved as much with like cell phone photography and everything, but definitely like no flash photography. And the line, oh my goodness, the line to Westminster Abbey is crazy. So like if you're only there for a couple days, the things to do first thing in the morning are like Tower of London, Westminster Abbey. So don't try to do like one in the morning, one in the afternoon, because no matter what, you're going to find yourself in a line. So, hot tip. All right. And thank you, Mary Ellen. I appreciate it. I went to like my normal hairstylist, and the reason, so like here in Chicago, haircut places opened I think like 2 weeks ago or something like that. But my normal hairstylist opened his own salon in this interim period. So his salon just got like a little bit delayed. But what's cool is that like he has his own like, I don't know, cubicle. If you like, it's like a glass enclosed room now, and so it was the most like COVID friendly environment because there's literally nobody. We were like just the two of us in the room. We had to wear masks, all that jazz. All right. Scorpio Sue says she went to Westminster Abbey at night and it was neat. I actually have also been at night. I haven't gone through it night. I think I went through it like dusk, and then came out at night. But it is cool. I bet I don't know like how late it's usually open. I feel like it's the kind of place that kind of closes at sunset, but maybe not. But I think that would be super super cool to see. Derek's back with something that actually can chill this wine.
Yeah, I don't want it to get too warm.
Nick D says, pro tip, go to the bars in the morning, a lot less crowded. Yes, I don't know about morning, but I definitely would say, like, unless you really have no interest in touring around and stuff like that. But I would say, like, if you go to a pub at lunch, it's so much easier to get into than, like, even starting at 4:30, people in Britain will, like, start their happy hours with their coworkers and stuff like that, and it just gets crazy crowded. Even, like, in the wintertime, because in the wintertime, you can't even, like, spill out onto the streets. So, like, you are, or, like, autumn or spring, if the weather is cold, like, everyone's going to be in the pubs.
Well, it's kind of funny to see, you might do like a day tour, it's like noon, and you see like the guys at like lunch getting a beer. And it's like they're in their suit, they're about to go back to the office, but they're having a pint, which is a little bit different. Like, you don't see that quite as much here in the U.S., I think. I have not traditionally
I
seen
worked
that.
in media, and we don't, as much as in London. And that's saying something. But although I will say, if anybody watches Mad Men, nobody in advertising still has 3 martini lunches.
No, God.
Flat out, nobody. Let's continue. It used to happen. No
Nick
longer.
D, I'm really tempted to start a travel channel with just terrible advice. That's funny.
Terrible advice being like, go to the pub and then go to all the museums.
Well, I also like that Mary Ellen Dillon is saying that pint of lunch is normal in London.
Yeah, very normal.
Which, yeah, no, I've seen that a lot, and it's just like, I just know myself, and I'm like, if I had a pint, I'd be like, I don't want to go
Your
back to work.
coworkers would start like drinking. Yeah. Anyway, so let's move on to a new city. I hope you guys are all cool with that.
NYC in the
Let's
Hizzy.
go to New York and then we'll go back to Paris. So, New York.
Neighborhoods that you want to stay in.
We always recommend staying in Long Island City. We're biased because we used to live there, but it's also, if you want to save money, Long Island City is the first stop into Queens on the subway, and there's like 5 different subway lines that go there, and you get a really pretty view of Manhattan from a lot of that area. So, and there's great restaurants and stuff, like local restaurants. So even like our roommate Megan used to live in Long Island City with us, and she works in finance too.
Not with us, but in
like
different places.
At the same time, she lived in Long Island City, very close to us. A lot of like young professionals have moved over there to kind of save money and live in these like luxury high rises that are over there, and there's like certain hotels. So when Derek and I were moving to Chicago, he had to move before I was able to transfer, and I actually ended up living in the Aloft Hotel in Long Island City at the time for a week, and it was great. Like, the rooms were nice, had good views of Manhattan and a lot of them, and there was like free breakfast. It was super close to the subway, so I love that hotel. There's also like I think a Hilton Garden Inn over there and like a Marriott. So lots of those chain hotels that you might be interested in like redeeming points at. Another place that you can redeem points at pretty easily is like in the financial district, but there's, in my opinion, fewer locals there. So like a lot of the people kind of clear out of the financial district in Manhattan and like after work ends, and Long Island City like picks up.
I wouldn't say that about Manhattan. I would say there's parts of Manhattan that clear out a little more.
I'm just talking about the financial district.
Oh, the financial, yeah.
You must not have been listening.
I love you.
But yeah, you would agree, like FiDi kind of clears out in the evenings more, right?
Yeah, at least it used to. The financial district, which is like on the southern tip of Manhattan, down by like Wall Street and all that kind of Wall Street Broad, South Street Seaport, all that kind of stuff. It kind of like gets.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. It kind of clears out at night, and that's actually the first place I lived in New York when I moved to New York was, as an intern between my sophomore and junior year of college. Moved there. I'd actually never been to New York until I moved there with like my suitcase, as like your like typical like country bumpkin. Not really
You're
country
not
bumpkin.
Country,
I mean, not country, but I mean, I was like small town
Derek,
Indiana.
I say that, but Derek did have a cornfield in his backyard growing up.
Yes.
So
I moved to New York.
He lived in a subdivision, but there was there was a cornfield.
I moved to New York being like, I know nothing. And, I live down on Maiden Lane down in the financial district, very close to my office on Broad Street, which is like close to like Broad and like Wall Street sort of stuff. And, it was kind of an eye-opening thing, but at night it kind of like cleared out and there's like nobody around. So I had lived there thinking, I can walk to work, it'll be nice. But, there were many times at night that I was kind of nervous walking back to my dorm room, basically, because, it was late at night after dark, and, in New York, if you don't know this already, but there's a lot of trash on the street. That's how they pick up their trash, is they put it out on the sidewalks.
Yeah, they don't have alleyways like they have in, like, Chicago, so that, like, there's no dumpster area, like, in Chicago. Like, the trash is on the sidewalks.
So, walking back, late at night, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., or whatever at night, in New York City, nobody's on the streets, and you're walking by this, like, giant pile of trash that's almost as tall as I am, you're like, maybe I'll get back home, I don't know. I was like, I feel like I've seen an SVU, thing on this Law and Order. But
is there a Hyatt in Long Island City?
I'm sure there is.
I'm going to text Megan upstairs and
yeah,
ask.
there's one was built right next to us.
Hyatt?
A Hyatt Place.
Here there is.
No, there's a Hyatt place.
Oh, okay. There's most likely a Hyatt in Long Island City as well.
There's our
I
building.
think it was under construction when we were leaving.
There's our building. There's that condo that was built right by us, and then the Hyatt was like over here. There's a coffee
you're totally
place.
right. Oh yeah, just opened right before. Okay.
Right before we left.
Eric Brown, Hyatt Place, Long Island City.
That was right by our apartment building in LIC.
I
So it's like
completely
really
forgot
close
about
to
that.
all
Thank
the
you.
subway lines.
And I think it had parking. So like
Yeah.
if you drove in, they had like a few parking spots.
No, that opened right before we left.
Yeah. Sorry, we got like overly excited about Hyatt Places.
You did.
Guilty.
I like Hyatt Places actually.
Anyway, but yes, so everyone's kind of chiming in. I just want to speak to the New Jersey point. New Jersey is so it's actually an important thing if you're a business traveler to understand staying in New Jersey versus in New York. So if you are going to New York for like a business trip or a leisure trip, which a lot of people still do, because like they'll extend, like maybe they have a conference in New York and they'll like turn it into a long weekend or something like that, and they'll stay in the city. If you stay in the city for several nights, depending on how many nights you're there, you might be like required to pay taxes to New York City because you worked there. So it's like the only place in the U.S. that kind of.
No, it's not the only, but it
It's like
is
one of
like
the only
it's
places.
one of the more stringent places on like where you slept that night. And
Yeah,
stuff.
so
a lot of people will go out
people
to
sleep in
New Jersey. Yeah.
So like
Or-
Jersey City and Hoboken are the top ones if you're like commuting into New York. But we particularly love Montclair. I have cousins in Montclair.
It's a lovely town.
It's just a beautiful suburb. And you can like take the train or like the New Jersey Transit or the bus into Port Authority. So if you are interested in going to New York and saving money, New Jersey can be a great option. But it's also really important to understand like if you're there for business or even business leisure to figure that out.
Yeah. So what I'll say about Long Island City, it's great. There's some like really good restaurants. There's some Michelin-starred restaurants. Casa Enrique is the Mexican place. It's probably one of the most affordable Michelin-starred restaurants in New York City. Highly recommend it. They have lengua, which is like tongue tacos. Very good.
He's Mexican.
He can tell you. People get uncomfortable about it, but it's actually really tasty.
Lengua, I would have never tried on my own, but I tried with him, and it's delicious.
Yeah, it's really good.
Tender. And I'm picky.
But yeah, they have really good like mole and like they have good food.
They have really good
I recommend it.
Generally.
Like their guacamole is tasty and affordable. Like in New York City, you go to a place like Trace.
Wait.
Wait.
What are you talking about?
Calles. What was that place by us in
Dos Caminos.
Dos Caminos.
Oh, Dos Calles.
Dos Calles. Like Calles, streets, two streets.
Yeah,
Dos
Caminos and Calles are like kind of
like synonyms.
Sort of synonyms in Spanish. That's why I was laughing.
Streets
they both
and
mean
roads
streets
or something like that.
Yeah, it's like streets and roads. Yeah.
So Dos Caminos is actually like a pretty trendy kind of place. There are a number of them in Manhattan, and you'd probably get guacamole for like $15, $20 or something like that, and then you get it for like $8 to $9 in Casa Enrique, and it's like Michelin starred. It's like a good place, so I would highly recommend it. And then there's also a Quebecois, a very nice steakhouse right across from where we used to live, called
M. Wells
Steakhouse, and they have really good food, phenomenal steaks.
It's in an auto body shop that they haven't converted. So like it looks like an auto body shop from the outside, and then you walk in and it's like this Michelin star steakhouse. It's the most New York-y thing you will ever experience.
Yeah, it's like one of the. It's like you have to know it exists.
Yeah,
to like go
and
there.
like Beauty in Essex. So that was one I was going to mention. So that's in Manhattan. Beauty in Essex is similar in terms of it's kind of like a speakeasy. From the outside, it actually looks like a pawn shop. And it has a pawn shop front room, and then you have to say like, hi, I have a reservation for 7 p.m. and they're like, okay, go through that door, and then it opens up to this really cool huge area, super trendy, food's amazing, so definitely recommend Beauty and Essex as well. There's a ton of like speakeasy type places that kind of let you kind of harken back to the Prohibition era of New York, of New York of lore.
Well, I mean, one of our favorite places in Buenos Aires in Argentina is like that's called La Floreria, which is like the flower shop, and you go in and it is a flower shop. You can buy an orchid, right? And you know, you go there, you say you have a reservation, and like they take you through what looks like it would be a freezer or a refrigerator for like plants, and you go down the stairs and you're at a bar. It's very cool.
But let's round out restaurants in New York.
Well,
hold on. I want to say.
Should you ever talk about neighborhoods that you stay at? LIC. We've only talked about LIC.
Okay, I'll circle back to that, but I just want to go into. Let's talk about pizza and bagels. Okay.
Oh Lord.
Because I'm like,
this is like
why would you go?
Hour-long conversation.
Why would you go to New York and not eat pizza or bagels unless you're gluten free, and that's your thing? You know, respect. So pizza. John's on Bleecker.
John's of Bleecker.
Is it of Bleecker?
I think so.
I've been saying it wrong for 10 years.
So they don't do by the slice. You got to get a pie. They have like, it's very quick though, very yummy. Highly recommended.
There was literally a movie being filmed outside of it. Californication was being filmed outside of it the first time we went.
But
it's a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah, it's the place that I've always it's the place I've gone since I was a sophomore in college. That's where I've gone and taken people to. It's phenomenal.
And then Lombardi's in Little Italy is also like very authentic, awesome New York style pizza. And you'll probably I think both of these places you'll wait in line if you go at like a busy time. So if you're like a tourist and you're like, oh, maybe I'll go at 4 p.m, that's probably the ideal time to go if you're hungry and don't want to wait.
4, but yeah, maybe.
Okay, then a few places are like a little bit more affordable. I loved a place called Dig In for lunches, DIGINN. And they would always have like kind of home cooked meals, like protein, veggie, and like you can either choose like protein and 2 veggies or like protein, veggie, carb, that sort of thing. I wish that they would bring Dig In to Chicago, but they definitely have not yet.
Yeah, so a few others, just for like to mention about pizza while we're talking about it. You mentioned Lombardi's, right?
Yeah.
So Lombardi's is great. Joe's Pizza, is one of those types of places where it's like a $1 slice type place, and there's a number of those throughout the city.
Yeah.
And then what's the one in Brooklyn? Grimaldi's.
But we already talked about that.
We talked about Grimaldi's.
There's like a little bit of a. Yeah. So. John's.
And there's 2 Johns. There's John's of Bleecker, and there's John's of Times Square.
Go to John's of Bleecker. Okay.
Yeah.
So, bagels. Essa Bagel. It's on.
Number 1.
Yeah, number 1. Really, I don't know if I'm even gonna say other ones.
H&M is not H&M.
H&H.
H&H.
It's good, but
More different.
they used to have like the H&H bakery on the west side, and you could go there and like literally get a bagel straight out of the freaking oven. But they no longer cater. That location no longer.
I think they boil, but yeah. You get it like right off. It was like hot. We went there one time. I got the everything bagel. She got her cinnamon raisin.
Like you did not even need cream cheese or butter. Like you could eat this bagel and it would like melt in your mouth and you would plop.
I don't know what that means, but okay. We have a bagel place by us that's close to New York style. It's pretty close. It's actually really nice, and they haven't opened up again since COVID, and we are just like waiting and salivating.
I'm also worried that they're not going to, so let's not tell people about it. But Essa Bagel will definitely reopen. It's an institution. Essa Bagel will reopen in New York City. It's in Midtown East. My favorite.
Eric Brown, Papa Gino's Pizza.
Papa Gino.
Papa.
he's been having a tough day. He's been overheating because of the air conditioning situation, so I don't think we're going to bring him on tonight.
Bonnie, welcome to the party.
Welcome, Bonnie.
Glad to have you.
Great to have you. So just circling back to what Derek was saying before with locations to stay in. I don't hate staying in Midtown, but it's not my favorite.
I've stayed many times in Midtown.
Yeah.
All right, so my thing about Midtown, we actually lived in Midtown for a number of years.
We did. We lived
on the east side, over by
the Waldorf Astoria.
Yeah, the Waldorf.
We lived on like 50th between Lex and 3rd.
Yeah. And so like that's an okay area. It's fine. There's Dos Caminos over there. And some other stuff. There's it's close to like the Turtle Bay type area in New York, which is a little bit younger and rowdy and stuff, and so that was kind of fun. Before that, I lived in Hell's Kitchen, like Clinton type area, which was fine. But then we moved out to Queens. A lot of friends though moved down to more of the Chelsea type area and some of those places that are a little bit more posh and cool.
There, yeah.
And there's a lot to see and do
but
there.
We also have friends that have moved to like Hudson Yards, Lower East Side.
Yeah, but that's still a nice area. It's by Chelsea. It's still very nice by Hudson Yards. And what I would say is, look at the things that you want to do when you're in New York and figure out what the subway lines look like. Because the biggest thing that you can do is figure out, all right, most of my stuff's in like this neighborhood or what have you. I either want to live near it or I want to live like no transfers away from it. So like I get on a subway line and I go straight there, right? So like just figure out your budget, figure out what works for you. And that's what I would recommend in New York, because the subway is really easy to use. In a post-COVID world where we don't have to worry about things as much, I wouldn't mind the subway. But if that's something that you're worried about, in the near term, think about that as well.
Yeah.
Hilton has a Millennium. There's the Hilton Millennium Hotel that's down by, by Freedom Tower and all that kind of stuff. So that's a place to go to, and it has reasonable rates. It's a nice looking building right across from the the Vessel, not the Vessel.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not the Vessel. It's the this thing. It looks like a whale bones. It's the subway station down there.
Oh.
The Oculus.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? The Oculus.
Maybe, I don't know.
I can't think of what it's called. I think it might be the Oculus. I'm not sure.
It's basically like the subway station.
It's the subway station for the One World Trade Center.
Yeah.
Or Freedom Tower, whatever you want to call it. And that's actually a really cool spot, and there's some stuff to see and do there. But again, it's one of those places where after hours it kind of clears out. So like think about that. If you're like a late night person, you want to be able to walk around.
Major supermarkets or anything like
yeah.
that. There.
So
you're going to be eating out probably.
Yeah. That's why, even though, maybe you want to see a lot of stuff down there, I actually would recommend more of a Midtown-ish type area, or a, Queens type area for staying
Thomas
at.
says the buzzing noise is back. I hope it's not back for everybody, because we haven't done anything different. Maybe Derek can, take his phone away from the computer or something, but...
That might be my fault, Thomas.
Maybe.
Sorry.
But yeah, let's talk about Brooklyn super fast, because Brooklyn's very trendy. Brooklyn Heights, if you can find a cool place, is my favorite neighborhood in Brooklyn. There's a lot of affordable Airbnbs and stuff if you go to Bushwick. Just be super careful about what area of Bushwick you're looking at, because it's a pretty big section of Brooklyn, and there's definitely differences in different blocks and stuff like that. Just like there would be in a lot of places in Queens and Manhattan too. With New York, I would certainly recommend before booking, I would Google map the street view of where you're looking at and just make sure everything looks hunky-dory for what you want.
Yeah. And again,
also Park Slope is really nice too in Brooklyn.
Park Slope's nice. Cobble Hill, all that kind of stuff's really nice in that area.
Oh my gosh, what's the
Williamsburg.
Williamsburg, thank you.
Yeah, Williamsburg is actually, so a lot of people call our neighborhood like the Williamsburg of Chicago. So
yeah.
Williamsburg is one of those places where there's like a lot of hipsters and stuff. So it's like,
yeah, if you're a
like
hipster,
nice
it's the right place.
and
If
all
you're
that
not
kind of
a
stuff.
hipster, it's not the right place.
The equivalent in London would be Shoreditch.
Williamsburg, Brooklyn is like the Shoreditch of London. I don't have an equivalent for Paris. If somebody does,
let us know, because I would actually love to know that. Yeah. What is the Williamsburg of Paris?
But yeah, the L train was which is what goes to Williamsburg and Brooklyn, was supposed to be shut down, and I think they figured out a workaround, and so it's not shut down currently. Unless I'm wrong.
So I mean, the one
you should
thing.
Put it down so that way.
Oh, it's fine.
I don't know. What if Thomas says we're
maybe
buzzing again?
Sounds like it sounds like an international phone call. Hey, Alex, before you go, if you haven't gotten yet, miss you, bud.
Is anyone else getting the buzzing noise that Thomas is getting? Can you guys let us know?
Yeah, let us know if it's still happening right now.
Yeah, because Derek just put his phone down away from the computer again.
Yeah.
But we just want to make sure because we can fiddle with things. And sorry, Thomas, if you're still getting it and everything.
So what I would say is that from a New York experience, look at where you want to go, see what you want to do, and make your decisions based on how easy it is to get to and fro. Because public transit, if you plan to take it, is a very easy way to get around New York City. Somebody had asked about how the subway, how the metro in New York compares to the tube in London. I would say that it's not quite as clean and nice.
The tube in London is far nicer.
Yeah.
Than the subway.
I will say that it's give and take, right? The stations are worse in New York City. Probably the cleanliness of the trains are worse in New York City, but there is air conditioning in most trains. As opposed to in the
London,
tube,
it's kind of like
it's you have like the windows down. And you hit.
No, there's certain lines that are
air
air conditioned in London.
Are there?
Now I don't know.
I don't remember that, but I just remember getting blasted with hot air.
I think the central line might not be air conditioned in London.
Yeah. So what I would say is definitely look where you want to go. If you wanted to take public transit, figure that out. But I would say that Midtown's not too bad. Chelsea's really schwank and nice if you can do it. The Millennium, the Hilton Millennium down by the Oculus is pretty cool. And while you're there, I would recommend there's New York's about the skyline, right? So if you're gonna go to New York and you want to see I want pictures to take home and see and remember the trip. There's a few places I would recommend going to. Dumbo down in Brooklyn is really nice, and you get really good sunsets of Manhattan. In Long Island City, you go to there's a state park there in Long Island City across the river, which is very nice and has good sunsets as well. Walking the Brooklyn Bridge around sunset is pretty awesome as well. You can also end that and go and grab some pizza if you want to in Brooklyn, which is nice. And then you have the roof deck type stuff, the observation decks. So for the observation decks, you can obviously go to the Empire State Building. The problem with that is that you then cannot get a picture that has the Empire State Building in it. So instead, I would highly recommend the Rockefeller Center, which gives you that view. And down by Hudson Yards, there's a new platform, which is one of the highest observation decks in New York. And it's, oh man, what's it called? Do you know what it's called?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. I was playing with the AC to see if it would turn off. What are you asking?
The observation deck in Hudson Yards that just opened
above
the vessel.
Above the vessel? I've never been. I've only been around the vessel.
So I think it opened and closed on the same day, because of coronavirus. It's brand new. It's at Hudson Yards. It's like way up there. I want to go badly. Like as soon as I can get to New York and it's open, I'm gonna go up there and take pictures. You know, follow along.
The fan is still okay. So I turned off the AC.
But it's pretty cool. Yeah, the Edge. Yeah, so Nick, that's
Edge,
exactly.
yes, I
the
have
Edge.
heard of that.
Go check that out. It's a, you know, it's supposed to be really cool. So I would say.
He says one last comment.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, Nick.
I don't recommend it in the summer. Too hot and muggy for such a crowded place. Definitely for July and August. I feel like June maybe could be a good time of year. It's not too hot yet. Generally speaking, I feel like New York City, because it's on the ocean, is a lot more humid than like in the Midwest and stuff like that. Like when I moved there, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to switch shampoos. Like, oh, my hair is so frizzy here. But especially in the summertime, like you'll notice a difference. By the way, finally,
don't go see the
I switched it off.
fireworks. Don't do the fireworks.
Oh yeah, don't do the fireworks on 4th of July unless you want to bake. Okay, so
You're
I
packed like sardines.
I just switched off the AC and it finally turned off from my phone. Is that sound gone for you guys? Let us know.
I'll be right back.
All right. Bonnie says, yes, Top of the Rock. Totally. It's supposed to be like the best kind of high-rise view in New York because you can see both the Empire State Building and the Freedom Tower from it. So it's like basically you're able to get those iconic buildings in your view because the Rockefeller Center you can't recognize as well. So if you're like in the Empire State Building, which I've done, super cool experience and cool to learn about like the construction of the Empire State Building and stuff like that. But you can't see the Empire State Building if you're in it. So if you're interested in like the photos and stuff, Top of the Rock is great. And then Nick D says, I like the Paley Center for Media and NBC Studios tour. Got to see a Conan episode back when I was in NYC. One of my best girlfriends actually used to work at the Paley Center, and she would see all these different like celebrities come in and stop by and say hi. It's a really cool event space. I don't actually know what they're doing coming out of COVID-19, so that should be something I research. I'm glad you brought that back up. Live shows are totally the best, Lori Sims. I'm desperately hoping all the Broadway shows are doing well. I have a friend who used to be a Broadway, singer. Used to do different shows on Broadway, and I think they're all kind of hurting. So if it becomes more and more safe, like New York is definitely opening more and more this week and moving forward into summer, it becomes more and more safe to go there. I think we should all definitely try to support those hard-hit businesses there. I just read Nick Peterson's note. Turn your AC back on if you need to. We can deal with the sound. It's actually like pleasant down here. I think it said it was like 72 on my phone. So we're doing okay right now, but we'll turn it back on if we need to. That's funny though. And Thomas is still getting it, so it wasn't even the AC. I don't know what it is. I think it's usually we're using an external microphone, so it might just be the difference in terms of for some reason the external microphone was acting up tonight. So guys, I'm sorry. Thank you for bearing with us with being in a different spot. You guys are probably like, where are you? We're still in our house. Don't you worry. We're safe and sound in our house as always. Just in a different room. Yeah. We'll get the microphone fixed for next time though. So sorry about that, and thanks for bearing with us. All right, so I just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. Nick Peterson says he went to the crown of the Statue of Liberty in August 2017, and it was difficult to do for someone of 6'9" height. I forgot that you're that tall, but I totally remember that now. I bet. So the crown was closed for a very long time. I think reopened in the past couple of years, I think it closed after like 9/11. And
Where
neither of
was
us,
that?
the Crown and the Statue of Liberty, I don't think neither of us got to go. So I went.
Still closed.
No, well, probably during COVID-19, but Nick said he got to go in 2017.
Oh, cool.
And so I got to go to Statue of Liberty Ellis Island tour when I first moved to New York. And surprisingly, I don't have any relatives that went through Ellis Island to my knowledge. But it was still, like, despite that, it was still such a cool experience. And like, I recommend it to anyone, regardless of what nation you're from or anything like that, because it tells the story of New York and of America. So I highly enjoyed that. I enjoyed Statue of Liberty.
So Statue of Liberty is really cool.
Though.
But what I would say about that is that somebody had mentioned in here earlier, actually, that I think Battery Park City and Battery Park means a lot to them because they're from New York.
Yeah.
Battery Park's really cool.
That's where a lot of the tours pick up.
So
those.
a lot of them, like, what you do is you go and you buy your tickets to Castle Clinton, and then, which is like one of the round forts.
It was like an old fort
that was built in like 1812 for the War of 1812 to guard like New York Harbor. There's like a whole series of forts built for the War of 1812 against the British, which some of them are star forts, including the fort that actually the Statue of Liberty is built upon. That's one of the forts that was built for the War of 1812, and it's a really cool park. There's a lot of memorials for like the Korean War and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to see. Highly recommend going and actually spending some time walking around it because, you know, there's a lot to see, a lot to do. There's you can see turkeys. Actually, they have like wild turkeys that roam the park, which is kind of fun. There's also a house very close by there that has the like first North American saint in the Catholic Church, which is kind of cool. That's right up there, and you know it's a good jump off point for if you want to go to like South Street Seaport or any of that kind of stuff. You can like walk up along the East River and like check that stuff out. So
yeah. Also, I want to say Nick Barnes is saying that the Tenement Museum in the Lower East Side is great. I wholeheartedly agree. The scary thing is that the Tenement Museum announced that like early on in COVID, like I think during like April, that they were at risk of shutting down after COVID-19. And so I was kind of talking about it with I think a few of you guys. I think I'm hoping that at minimum like a corporate sponsor comes in and saves it, or like a wealthy New Yorker or something like that, because it's such a phenomenal museum that tells the history of like immigrants to New York. And immigrants to New York, I mean, you guys are
story of America.
Yeah, you're free to debate this because I mean not everybody's families of course went through New York, including my own, but like it is the story of America in so many ways. And I despite not having a lot of New York history in my family, like I still feel connected to it. So I'm hoping that the Tenement Museum sticks around because it's just moving.
Yeah, the Italian side of my family definitely came through Ellis Island and all that kind of stuff, and lived in New York, Brooklyn, all that kind of stuff, and would have probably lived in similar type of places. Actually, my family in like Indiana probably lived in similar types of places. If you actually
like in
go check
Gary
it out.
and stuff.
Gary and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to go to a Tenement Museum in Gary, Indiana, but in New York I will and check it out and see kind of like what that looked like. So it's just
they do a great job for sure. So many museums in New York are really great. But like we said, like hours ago, feels they all cost money. So just be prepared that's like if that's something that you want to prioritize in your New York experience, like that kind of stuff kind of adds up.
Hey, Rayleigh Creative Travel is here.
Blaine,
hey, Blaine, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. And Sir Megan Morris is asking Vega Bonnie about destinations in Alberta because she wants to go really bad.
I want to go to Alberta too.
And she says that she loves Jasper and Waterton, lovely national parks and not crowded like Banff.
Yeah, Jasper is just like kind of further past Banff, and really really cool spot. All right. So New York, we talked about hotels. Have we talked about? I mean, I guess we talked about restaurants. We talked about pizza and bagels.
Well, pizza bagels. I mean, those are like two like mainstays of New York. Definitely check it out. Get a dollar slice, whatever. You know, if you've gone out and imbibed a little bit too much, get a dollar slice. Why not? Just be careful not to burn the roof of your mouth because that's very dangerous. Especially if you go to Artichoke Pizza. So Artichoke Pizza is one of those like dollar slice type places that has a few locations throughout Manhattan.
Including in meatpacking, if you're into
And
clubbing.
They're big, yeah, but yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody here might be, but if you
maybe.
are,
Yeah, why not? Occasionally. The thing with that is like when it like heats up, like that like boils and it will like destroy your mouth. And I have more than once gone to like artichoke pizza late at night after imbibing way too many drinks, and the next morning been very upset with drunk Derek, as I call it. And so just something to think about. But New York's one of those beautiful places that still has the dollar slice that a lot of places don't have that anymore. It's like, you know, for $1 you can go get like a slice of cheese pizza, and that's lovely.
Yeah. Also, New York has really good Thai food. So, and I mean, even like there's an area of 9th Avenue called Restaurant Row. So if you are staying in Midtown, just head over to 9th Avenue. It's on a grid pattern, so you'll find it. Just as the numbers go up, most likely, unless you're staying on 10th, then go back. Yeah. But there's a area kind of in the 40s.
Well, what is
it's called Restaurant Row. You can probably Google it, and
so
there's like every single ethnic food you could imagine.
And it's like west of Broadway, so. Yeah. It's close to Broadway, so a lot of people go there for their pre-show dinners and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of different foods, whether it's ethnic or Italian or what have you. You know, there's a lot of different stuff there, which is really nice.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that, you know, obviously when it comes to like Michelin-starred restaurants, New York has a ton. There's a lot to do and see. Steakhouses, there's phenomenal ones. Some of my favorites are BLT is actually really good. That's more of a Midtown type place. There's a lot in that like business corridor of the Midtown neighborhood that you can go to and get really nice steaks. So.
All right, so I'm gonna say a couple things that Nick's plural have said. But so first I'm gonna say Nick Barnett says yes, 9th Avenue and Hell's Kitchen, which Derek used to live in Hell's Kitchen for a year before I moved there.
Yeah, 1D Siam.
You said 1D Siam. They're actually, at least there were
1D 2,
3
there's
1D
so many
Siams.
1Ds.
And they're all the
Phenomenal.
same. They're all the same.
They're next door to each other.
It's just because it was so successful that they like had to start buying up nearby restaurants in order to like accommodate the amount
1D
of
Siam and 1D 2 literally are just separated by like a street.
Yeah.
Like it's like they grew too much, and then there's like the next one. It's hilarious and delicious. I highly agree with you.
Yeah. Spice is another Thai chain, like small chain in New York.
Yeah, Spice is
pretty
good.
Okay, so then the other Nick Peterson says his father was born in New York. He moved to Minnesota with his parents when he was really young. And he said the 9/11 Museum at the World Trade Center, he went there and he cried touring that. I'll never forget it. I'm going to the United 93 crash site in Pennsylvania in August, and these places are a must visit. I agree. I have been. It's moving, especially like, I mean, you're younger than us, but still have like I remember finding out about it in school, and after moving to New York, I met people whose, you know, dad was in the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
So, actually, I know somebody whose dad was in the World Trade Center and like got out. Even and there's a lot, like once you move there, like there's a lot of people that were seriously impacted, and you feel it once you're there. Certainly something to tour. The United 93 crash site would be cool too. I've never been, even though I've been through Pennsylvania a lot. And that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think that's something to stop at next time for sure. Nick D is asking Megan Morris about artichoke on mushy peas.
So artichoke is like a white sauce pizza with like artichoke hearts. It's like an artichoke dip. Think of it like that on pizza. and it is phenomenal. It's very, very good. And more than once we've gone to
I
like
think you can get an artichoke pizza there, but they're not all artichoke pizzas.
yeah,
To be
it's just
clear.
what they're known for. It's like artichoke dip type pizza.
Yeah.
So it's super creamy and delicious, but like super hot and like can just destroy your mouth. More than once we went to like one of her boss's like cookouts, and it would end with me going to Artichoke Pizza close by his house to buy like multiple pizzas to then bring back because we had already eaten through all like the burgers and brats and stuff, and we just kept going, and it was a good time.
Yeah. Nick says it's his third time that he'll be visiting the United 93 crash site. It's so cool how interested in history that you are, Nick. I feel like you and Derek would like super connect on that. But I definitely want to go there now. Now that you mentioned, I didn't realize you could even tour it. If I'm being honest, I didn't realize that was like a spot to go to. So I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, Eric Brown is saying that the World Trade Center Museum is touching and very well done.
World Trade is like really nice because it's truly monumental. It's like something you would expect to see in Washington D.C. in terms of like just like the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
It takes up a massive amount of space. It is awe-inspiring, and it really gives you some depth for the loss of life that took place on that day, and it hits close to home.
Hi, David Fagan.
David, welcome.
Welcome to you.
Steakhouses NY. Yes, there are many
So
steakhouses in New York City.
We have
BLT,
Reco'S.
very good.
Get out your notebook.
Emerald Steakhouse, also very good.
Yeah, so we talked about Emerald in Long Island City, but I would say
BLT,
Smith and Wollensky's.
quality. Well, Smith, you can get that anywhere.
That's no, you can't.
In Chicago.
Yeah, but I think that's the only other location is in Chicago.
You can get that in Chicago. You can get that in New York.
But Smith and Wollensky's original location is in New York, in Midtown East.
They actually have a really nice. So if you go to New York during Restaurant Week, which is, for those who don't know, Restaurant Week is one of those times where they do kind of price
like
fix
late
menus.
January, I believe.
They do it twice a year now. They actually do it two times a year, and so they do like price fix menus. Once is in the summertime, once is I think it's in the wintertime. And what you do is you go there, and for $25 at lunchtime, you get like a 3-course meal, or $35 at dinner time, or something like that. And Smith and Wollensky's used to have one of the best deals in town for lunches, because for like $20 or $25, you get like a steak, calamari, and cheesecake or something like that, which is way too much food. You'd leave it, you'd be like, I'm comatose, I'm done. But it was very nice.
What's that one that was like in between yours and my office, kind of by Rockefeller Center?
Well, there's quality Italian, there's quality steak.
No, it started with
Both
a D.
of those are very good. Delmonico's?
No, that's not what it was called. It was maybe it's called that?
There's so many Italian. I mean, there's so many good steakhouses.
It's like right north of Rockefeller Center. Del Frisco's.
Del Frisco's, yes. So Del Frisco's is really good. I highly recommend if you go to Del Frisco's. Their steak's really nice, but if you're getting like an appetizer for the group, get the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. Mm-hmm. They're crazy good. Mm-hmm. Super good. I highly yes. Mm-hmm. Even she's saying yes, and she doesn't like fried food that much.
Yeah.
But they're very good.
Get it.
Highly recommend it. It's really nice. You can't go wrong if you go to like one of the nice steakhouses in New York. Chicago, though, if you come here, we have really good steakhouses here in Chicago. Gibson's Italian. Like there's a ton of phenomenal steakhouses here. So please come to Chicago.
David's saying he's staying in Queens, hopefully Long Island City, based on this conversation. But if not, we're open to that too.
Yeah.
New York's great. We used to live there for 8 years, just in case anybody wasn't at the beginning of this chat. So we talked about London already. I think we've pretty much gotten through New York. If you have any other New York questions,
so did you
drop
hit
them in.
all the locations that people should go to, though? Like things to see and do?
Yeah, I mean, we've hit our top ones, and that's
all right. So
that's what it's 9:16, so let's go to Paris.
All right. So, but before we do, super quick, museums in New York. I don't know if we hit all the museums, but the Met is phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Go to the Met.
The MoMA's pretty cool.
You can't see it all in a day. Just go thinking like, what are the top highlights I want to see? Look it up in advance. The Tenement Museum, which we had discussed, if it's open. The MoMA is nice. The MoMA has a very nice restaurant in it as well.
Yeah.
The Cloisters is a little bit further away, but very unique experience.
That's like a day trip in itself, even though you're still on Manhattan.
It's as far north.
Do not try to do like that in the morning and then.
It's as far north as you can go. So either take an Uber that'll take you straight there, or if you take the subway, just know that you're gonna walk. But that's a really unique experience because it's like going to Europe, but in New York, because all the buildings basically were taken from New York and taken from Europe and taken to New York by wealthy philanthropists. Like the walls of the building
were old, like abbeys in France and Germany and stuff like that.
And so,
cool.
So that's very neat and very worth seeing. You feel like you're away from the city. It's almost like it is much like a day trip. We talked about the Statue of Liberty.
My secret favorite
the Guggenheim is obviously a place to go to for art and modern art and stuff like that.
Honestly, every museum in New York is great. I don't know anyone that I would say don't go to. My favorite little place to rest. I don't know if you rest your tired feet
and get Essa Bagel.
Yeah, is Greenacre Park, and it's right near Essa Bagel, so you can go get Essa Bagel. Take your bagel over there, and they have little tables and chairs to eat at. And there's
It's considered a quiet zone, so you're not supposed to be on your phone. You're not loud or anything.
And it's just tranquil. Yeah. It is a complete respite from the hustle and bustle of Midtown. Greenacre Park.
Greenacre, yeah, no, that's a nice one.
Anyway.
And get cheesecake while you're there. I mean, come on, it's go to wait, we never even mentioned delis. Dear
Clearly
God.
We used to live there because Derek wants to tell you guys every single thing.
No, but you gotta go to Katz's. You gotta go to Katz's.
Yeah.
Definitely. Somebody I saw, I don't know who it was. It might have been one of the Knicks. That's a good guess, right? One of the Knicks might have mentioned TikTok Diner. TikTok Diner is very nice.
That one's good if you take a train,
Penn Station.
like Amtrak or bus into Penn Station.
I think it's by Penn Station.
Yeah.
I've been there before. It's very nice.
But if you, to be clear, if you aren't in that neighborhood, don't go there.
It's Nick Peterson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go there for that, but if you're in the area and you're looking for a good breakfast and stuff, TikTok Diner is very nice. I've been there.
Because there's tons of great diners all over New York, but that's the best one in that area.
Yeah, my history teacher back in high school met me up at TikTok Diner because he was doing one of these tours through New York and all that kind of stuff, and it was fun to see him. But if you are staying in Queens and you're staying in LIC, I do recommend Queens Square Diner, which was that was our spot back in the day. It's one of these chrome covered looking things. It looks like a diner. Awesome food and cheap eats and
Scorpio
really good.
Sue, definitely DM us if you're going to New York.
Definitely.
You might get a really long response, especially from Derek.
Especially if I've been drinking Vouvray.
You'll have lots of choices.
All right, so we should move to Paris.
We should move because we promised London, New York, and Paris, and we've been on for a while. So let's get into
Domain away. Go grab some delicious Vouvray.
All right. So my favorite places to stay in Paris.
Marais.
Yeah. That's my favorite place to shop, hands down, is the Murray District. But we really like staying. I know that the Walters World folks, who I don't think are still on, they like staying in Montmartre. We actually stay in more the 6th arrondissement, or in the Marais, or in the 3rd. And that's because it's closer to the RERC. So regardless of if you're flying into Charles de Gaulle Airport, which is more the international one, or Paris Orly, they're both on the RERC. So it's just, I guess I like to stay somewhere that's a little bit closer to the airport. And I think that's kind of a factor of the fact that I take an overnight flight. I like to get to my hotel, drop off my stuff, and everything like that. So similar to London, I've stayed at a lot of different types of accommodations. I've stayed at a hostel, I've stayed at kind of like a 3-star hotel all the way up to a 5-star hotel. The hostel that we liked the most was when we were in college, but still supposed to be really good. And I think it's called St. Christopher's Inn. And I think there are 2 locations in Paris.
It's kind of out there.
The one that we actually like the most is kind of out there. Let me figure that out.
That's the one. That's the one where I went to Paris without accommodations, and we kind of talked about this before. I think where this was college. I went there being like, oh, I'll be able to get a room. It's fine. And got there, and they're like, we're sold out. And I stopped at a bunch of different hostels along like the route, like heading back, that evening. Like, I'll find one that will be something. Paris is huge. I couldn't find a single hostel I could stay in, and we had reservations.
And this was 2009, just so
it was like 2009.
Like,
so I didn't have like the internet and all that kind of stuff. So like, we had reservations for the following night, me and her together, in like a solo room, and ended up staying on my, staying on the floor in the hostel because my friends were able to sneak me into St. Christopher's Inn. So
yeah.
I'm probably not allowed back.
No, you stayed with me the next few nights because we had booked something there. So St. Christopher's Inn has the multi-person room all the way up to a double or something like that. And it looks like it is temporarily closed right now, but the one that we stayed at is right on a canal. And it's a little bit further outside of the city, but definitely
there's a lot of great
you get a lot for
your money, and there's a lot of great doner kebab places by it. Or at least that's what I remember. Yeah. Because at that time I was loving doner kebab because I was in Spain. That was awesome.
And then so we've also stayed. My favorite hotel that I stayed at last summer, because I stayed at 2 in the 6th arrondissement. The best one was the Hotel de Grand Homme, so Hotel of the Great Man. It's right across from the Pantheon. It's a 3-star hotel. And it's been recently renovated, and all the bathrooms are completely modernized. I filmed my video about how to do laundry in your hotel that's on this channel in that hotel, and it was the cheapest hotel room at that hotel, and it was still a beautiful room. So I feel like they're going to get upgraded to a 4-star hotel at some point after this renovation, but right now they're still kind of 3. So if you go anytime that's not July or August, even if you go in July or August this year, I'm sure it's affordable, but anytime not kind of high season, you're gonna probably get a pretty good rate for what you get. I actually ended up booking on Hotels Tonight and got a really awesome deal.
Alright, so that's one of our big things is Hotels Tonight is a phenomenal way to get last second deals if you are okay living on the edge and not having everything planned out immediately, which we actually did this last time when we went to Amsterdam. We did Hotels Tonight and we loved it because we just was it Hotels Tonight or was it the deal on?
Oh, it was Hotwire.
That was a Hotwire. So we kept looking at Hotels Tonight, and
it was a hot deal.
We were very okay doing Hotels Tonight in terms of Amsterdam, but that actually came from Hotwire, and it was they have a hot deal thing every day, and it just so happened to be that we got our hotel that we had stayed at the last time we were there for a third of the price because of it was right at the beginning of COVID, and we loved it. It was awesome.
Another time that we went to Paris, we stayed at a place called Hotel Relais des Paris. So there's this area of Paris that's kind of pedestrian streets. There are some cars that go in that area, but the streets are so narrow that they all try to avoid it unless it's an Uber dropping somebody off or something like that. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of shops and restaurants in that area, and it's in the Les Halles area, which is kind of near the Louvre and stuff like that. This hotel only has a handful of rooms. I want to say maybe 10 or 12. So it books up really fast because it has really good reviews. But it was really nice, and I loved staying in that neighborhood. There's just a lot of stuff to do around there. We've also stayed at the Hotel Regina, which is right by the Louvre, twice. Yeah. Because
twice, yeah.
Derek's work stuff. And
Yeah, my
it's
boss
really high end.
My boss let me pick the hotel, and it was within budget and everything. So I picked it. It was beautiful.
Super high end though. Like, this is if you want to really splurge. And like, certain rooms in the hotel are have better views than others too.
The first time we stayed there, we just happened to have like a phenomenal view. It was fall. It was autumn. As some may say. And we saw, phenomenal views of the Eiffel Tower. It was very close to the Louvre. I actually went out that morning.
Like, we could basically, like, from our hotel room, we're looking over the Tuileries Garden in autumn with all the changing leaves, and then in the background was the Eiffel Tower. It was incredible.
So the first time we stayed, this was our view from our bedroom, which is like stupid. Like, how nice that was. Needless to say, I wanted to stay there the next time we went because it was phenomenal. And I will say that, if you're looking at like times to go to like France and things like that, like Paris is phenomenal in autumn or fall because the leaves and the colors are just like super nice.
Yeah.
Like it makes it so vibrant and
this
beautiful.
was like early November for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think October is the same. Also, we very much try to avoid staying in the Champs-Élysées area and even really going there because a lot of the stores there are similar to the ones that you could get in like major cities in the US, like in New York or Chicago or something like that. So the only exception I would say is like if you want to go experience Galeries Lafayette, which is kind of like the equivalent of Harrods in Paris, there's a really, really nice one on the Champs-Élysées that includes Japanese toilets. So if you want to experience a Japanese toilet but don't want to go all the way to Japan, their public bathrooms have them.
So real quick though, Vega Bonnie is saying that I have an awesome hotwire hack. You can use the Radian to figure out the place you get to stay. Yeah, so we did that.
That's how we just. That's actually how we booked the hotel that we wanted to book through Hotwire.
Yeah, where we went through and you figure out like because they have like all the different like radians and stuff, and you figure out where do they match up on like the 5 different rating systems of like price.
I think it's on like
all that kind of
Expedia's
stuff.
ratings or something like that. So you kind of cross-reference across 2 sites, but then you can narrow down exactly which
you can
hotel.
Probably you can probably get it down to like 2.
Stop kicking the thing.
You can probably get it down to like either the place because it's the only one that matches, or like maybe there's 2 that might match perfectly, but that's probably rare. And we happened to like do it, and we're in the Detroit airport, and Eliz is like, I'm pretty sure this is the Hotel Asteria, which we stayed at the last time. And I'm like,
this isn't when we were going to Amsterdam.
When we were going to Amsterdam, and I'm like, cool, do it. Like, and she did, and it was the Hotel Asteria, and like we were super psyched. We were very happy. So yeah, definitely do that.
But yeah, Bonnie, we're right there with you.
Who was the YouTuber that we first found that through?
I don't remember.
It's the one who's doing
the Airstream.
The Airstream right now. Yeah. I can't think of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't really follow her.
That's a really cool trick, and once we saw that, we're like, we had to try it. So. All right, so Paris, we're talking about like hotels and all that kind of stuff, but like food. So I don't know if I can tell you like exactly where to go, except for one place, which is the place that we went to back in college, and we've been back to every time we go to like Paris, basically, and it's Le Couchon.
Le Coupe Chou.
Le Coupe Chou.
If you're spelling it phonetically.
Coupchou. Le Coupe Chou. It's close to the Pantheon in Paris, and it does have an English and a French menu, but it's very nice. It's in one of these like areas by like the theater district where it was like 2 or 3 townhouses that have been like combined into like one restaurant. It's very nice, like open fireplaces, very rustic, delightful place.
Also, make sure you have like a nightcap after you leave there, and they have like a separate drinking room. I don't know. What is it called?
They have like basically like a cocktail lounge area, but it's like by an open fire and whatnot, and like you can go there and just like hang out, have like a nightcap. and just kind of like relax, and like other couples might come in and hang out and like talk
It's
and
so
stuff.
much
It's very
fun.
cool. So I would recommend that place. It's very nice, delightful meal. Escargot is phenomenal. No matter what you do when you go to France, when you go to Paris, try escargot, because even if you think like snails,
If you're like, ewy, it's covered in butter.
it's like herbs and butter and stuff.
Yeah.
It's delicious, and you just have like baguette and you just like dip it in the butter and eat it. It's phenomenal. It's chewy
Normally,
butter.
I'm the kind of person who'd be like, ugh,
No.
but it's so good, so good.
It's one of my greatest accomplishments is to get her to be like a big escargot fan. So very, very proud of that.
I love duck too when I'm in France.
Duck
so
is the
if
other
you don't
thing.
love duck in the U.S., you should try like if they have like a duck leg confit.
Duck confit.
Duck breast is different. If there's a duck,
Confit is
if there's
almost
like a
always leg.
duck confit, it's almost always leg when you're in France. And it's just super juicy. It kind of tastes like really, really good dark meat chicken. Yeah, highly recommend. Go out of your comfort zone if you're not used to duck. That's the place to do it, for sure.
I mean, it is delicious.
And actually, the place that I was about to say that is a good dinner spot is almost always has duck confit on the menu. So, Le Bistro du Périgord. That one I went to by myself. I went to with Megan. I think I maybe went there with you too. I keep going back because it's so freaking good. And they like do kind of a seasonal menu and stuff like that. It's written up on Eater, so you will see like other Americans there. But it's pretty phenomenal. Place that you won't see other Americans is the place that I keep talking about on these live streams. I feel like once a month is the sushi restaurant that I went to that I thought that I was speaking French, and then they spoke back to me in French, and I had no idea what they were saying, and then I had an embarrassing moment. But that one's called Oi Sushi, and that's still in the 6th arrondissement, so if you're staying kind of in that area, all of the restaurants that we've talked about so far in that spot. But Oi Sushi is on Rue... What is it called? There's tons of different restaurants in that area. So even if you don't like sushi, it's like a good spot. I think it's like Rue Descartes or something like that. But there's just like walk up and down that street and you will find something that appeals to you, even if it's not sushi. So I really like staying in that neighborhood just because I found so many great spots to eat at. There's like a creperie place that's really good. There's a lot of good like cafes that you can just stop at and watch passers-by. And it's also really easy to get to from the RERC if you just arrived into the city. So I like the 6th arrondissement, like the Latin Quarter and stuff like that. Then up by Montmartre, I really like the shops and restaurants along kind of like the Hotel de Ville subway stop area. I specifically like, where is the restaurant? There's one cafe that has like an English language menu. But
Real
it's still
quick,
really good.
Thomas Reiser, have a great evening.
Oh, bye,
We're very,
Thomas.
very happy that you could join us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so much.
joining.
And we hope that you have a good day tomorrow. I know you're saying you're going to have a rough day tomorrow, or that you have had a rough day, but thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
You brightened our day.
Thank you.
Joining. So thank you. So yeah, I'm forgetting what the one cafe is, and it's not on my map at the moment. Oh, here it is. Les Arsenal in Montmartre. So I'll walk along like all the boutiques along the main road in Montmartre, and then Les Arsenal is like right there, and it has the super, super nice waiter that I've literally had every single time I've gone, and I think I've gone like 3 or 4 times. And he speaks really good English too, but he still makes you feel French. And that's kind of what you want to feel. Even if I'm there by myself. And you can charge your phone there. Hot tip. And then over by the Louvre, when we stayed at like the Hotel Regina, I was able to go to like a bagel spot, which was crazy. But yeah, so I went to a bagel spot and a sushi restaurant over there. Man, I feel like I didn't write all of these down like I thought that I had, and I'm so sorry, guys. If you're interested, just DM me and I'll find them. But I'm curious what all of you guys were eating in France. We just like to stumble into cafes, and as soon as we would find good ones, I would like mark it on my map and like on my phone, so that way I could go back. Like I was saying, I think I've gone back to France. In 2019, I went 3 times to Paris. And I feel like I keep going back more and more each year, with the exception of 2020. So anybody's recommendations, I'm super excited to hear. All right, so I'll start reading a few through. Okay. Lori Sims says, a hotel is a place to sleep and not my destination. Would rather have a longer trip than an overpriced hotel. And I understand that. And actually, when I went to France with Megan, we had to have a conversation about that, because she would say like she wanted to save money and stay like further outside the city, and I typically like to stay in neighborhoods that feel neighborhoody and like still would have good restaurants, but like not, I don't want to stay like near all the tourist spots, but I also don't want to stay like super far outside of the city to save money. Typically I look for a balance. But I respect everybody's opinions. Like, I respect if you want to commute in an hour to go see the different sites in order to, I don't know, in order to save money on hotels, that's totally true. Like, it is a place to sleep. If you're hanging out in the hotel, you're doing it wrong sometimes. Then I think there's a conversation about Ryanair a lot, which I haven't flown Ryanair in years. I definitely flew a ton when I studied abroad, but I can't speak to it as much at the present. I can speak to Eurostar though, and Nick Peterson is saying that's why I like the Eurostar. Bags aren't as restrictive as the airlines, and I just like the experience of doing the Eurostar too, because you aren't at an airport, so like the security is super fast. Especially if you arrive early, like there's great food options. You could take it onto the train with you, and you're there really quick. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Eurostar too. And then Eric Brown says my bag was 23, so I paid twice. I don't know if I'm reading that right. I might be missing. It was because Megan said, yep, most major airlines are 23 kilogram allowance, but Ryanair makes their own rules. Even like BA has weight limits. So if you're flying like a European-based airline, you have to really pay attention to the weight limits. And I feel like U.S. airlines, if you're flying kind of domestically or abroad, they aren't weighing your suitcase unless you're checking it. But carry-on bags, certainly, they'll weigh them in Europe for sure. Yeah. Malcolm says he won't use LCC in Europe. Do you know what LCC stands for? Oh, look at this guest. Look at this surprise guest. I thought he wasn't going to join us tonight. Is he doing a little bit better?
Yeah.
I hope he's doing a little bit better. He's had a rough day.
Eric Brown, I agree. We do need to go to Prague.
We do need to go to Prague. It's like we want to do Budapest, Vienna, Prague, like desperately. We were definitely looking into that for 2020. Have we been to the DR?
Dominican Republic?
Yeah, that's what I assume.
No.
We have not.
No, but I do want to.
Have.
Love to go. Hey, buddy, look.
Yep, PG is here.
We have PG.
PG's had a rough day, so everybody kind of like make him feel at home, I guess.
Make him feel welcome.
Make him feel welcome. Sorry if you don't want to welcome him.
He's a lovely old man. He's from Italy.
This week was his anniversary of being adopted.
Gotcha day.
Yeah, his gotcha day. So we celebrated him on Monday for that.
And then we ate cheese today, which is all that matters.
Yeah. He did not get any cheese. He's not allowed to eat people food. It's a whole thing. Anyway, yes, we should definitely go to the Dominican Republic. Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, we totally agree. We want to go there very badly. We also want to go to like a lot of different Caribbean spots. But the Dominican Republic is certainly high on the list.
Yeah. And Malcolm is saying that PG hasn't been on a diet yet. He actually has. He's lost some weight. He's
actually on a diet. And he's getting a lot. So, so quarantine was hard on PG because he lives in New York. He typically lives in like a studio apartment, and he just wasn't getting his steps in. I think we can all relate, right? And so now that he lives in a house, he's getting like a little bit more exercise. He's still super heavy though, like deceptively.
Well, he employs every child.
He's like 30 pounds, just so everybody knows.
He employs every child's like go-to karate move, which is called dead weight.
Yeah.
He just kind of like flops. Oh yeah, I'm talking about you, bud. Yeah, I'm talking about you. So Leone.
Yeah, he's going to the Dominican Republic.
Or maybe he's on July 19th.
Maybe he's in the Dominican Republic. I can't tell. Cool. Or she. Sorry for your woman. Traveling July 19th. So we travel a lot typically, as all of you guys are pretty much aware. We have not left our house. Oh, hi! Are you sniffing me? We have not left our house recently because of living in a very urban city in the U.S. that was hard hit. We are thinking about going down to a lake next week. Specifically around Derek's parents' house. So you're a girl. Sorry. Okay. Yay. Very excited that we're all starting to travel again now. Okay, so what will the next topic be? Rome, Amsterdam? I mean, we can talk about more, but I wanted to finish Paris because there's a few top destinations in Paris.
Did we talk about the Eiffel Tower?
We haven't actually talked about activities. We've talked about hotels and restaurants.
So let's
the very, very, very last one.
A few key activities, right? So the Eiffel Tower. So when you think
go
of
once.
Paris, there's the Eiffel Tower. I would not do it in March. It's very cold. There's a lot of wind. So think about that. So you want to do the Eiffel Tower in warm weather. Definitely get your ticket in advance. Know how the lines work so you can skip the line if you've already bought the ticket. You don't want to wait in line to buy a ticket and just wait in line again if you already have yours. If you're going to any of the museums, the Louvre, again, if you buy your ticket in advance, you don't have to wait in one line. You go skip ahead to the other. So that's extremely important to know about. When you look at the who's the other you really like? Monet.
Yeah.
So what's the...
So Musée d'Orsay is my favorite spot in Paris. Number one, if you go to Paris, in my opinion. So that's my favorite museum, one of my favorite Jewish destinations, hands down. Anyone who's going to Paris, I say go there. But the Louvre is great too. Spend a whole day there.
The Louvre is phenomenal. You can spend a whole day.
If you don't like art, there's just walk around, just tour it, just walk the city.
But it has phenomenal Greek art, Parisian art. It has kind of everything.
But some people don't like museums or don't like art, or just want to be outside. The Tuileries Garden outside the Louvre is cool to just hang out at. You really like the view from what's that church called? I'm blanking. Up by Mount Art.
Sacré-Cœur.
Yeah. Well, we also used
Sacré-Cœur.
I mean, Notre Dame was great, but probably not the top place to go to right now.
Yeah. So obviously you can't go up to Notre Dame right now because of the fire and everything that happened a couple years ago, which was super heartbreaking to those of us who who love it.
It happened in April 2019.
So sad.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still remember like the moment that I like found out about it. And I was in my office. I like good. I was just like,
yeah.
It was quite the thing. So Notre Dame is very nice, but Sacré-Cœur is very, very nice.
Yeah.
It's built in the 1920s in Paris. It's a phenomenal church.
Eric's
beautiful.
agreeing with your thing, like Sacré-Cœur, and just go see the view.
Yeah,
the view of Paris is like you get this kind of 180 view of the city.
And you're pretty close to like Moulin Rouge at that point and other things. Like
we've never really like gone to see a show at Moulin Rouge. I know a lot of people do that. I would not do it. Like we just haven't done it yet. And then there's a lot of really cool like riverboat tours on the Seine.
And there's like really cool like bookstores and like little like flea market type things along the Seine, which is really cool.
So my two things that I did not like in Paris. So let's just say the things I didn't like, because I love like all the art museums and stuff like that. Definitely didn't like the sewer museum.
Sorry.
Do not go there. And when I say the sewer museum,
it's in the sewer.
It's not code for anything. It is a museum
in a sewer.
In a sewer.
So, all right, a buddy of mine screwed.
It's
with
part
me.
of the Paris Pass, and like you walk in there, and it's a river of poop, and that's what you're seeing.
Screw it. Yeah, it's pretty gross, and it smells bad. Buddy of mine told me that it was like the best thing he did in Paris, and so we did it, and it was horrible. Smelled really bad, and I think he was just screwing with me. I don't know yet.
It was the worst. I think it's actually like closed right now for reconstruction or something, and I'm like, no way. It
was not really,
but I also, this is my other one that I'm gonna say is like, debatable. Like I just personally didn't like it, but a lot of people love it. So if it's your thing, like do it. I just really didn't enjoy the catacombs. I think it was like it was overwhelming to me in terms of the amount of like human bones that I had to walk past. I think it's like a mile long. So you just basically are walking through a tunnel of a lot of people. So that one was not my favorite. I know there's a lot of history behind it. There's a lot of purpose for why it's there. It just, I went once, wouldn't necessarily go
not
back.
only that, but if you're claustrophobic, if you have issues of like
you can't leave. Like if you're there, you're there.
That's a real issue, and so you need to be like true to yourself. Like what is it that you feel about these things? If you can't do confined spaces, do not do the catacombs. It's like people who go on like horseback riding things and like they're scared of horses or big hey buddy, or big animals like this guy. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Just be true to what you are.
So that's the end of our Paris one. If we missed anything in Paris, like the Arc de Triomphe is kind of cool to go see, and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier there and stuff like that. Like those are neat. It kind of all depends on like what your priorities are. Look at how close everything is to each other, and then you do you once you get to Paris, because I think that's the coolest city to kind of form your own relationship with.
Yeah, what I'll say is about about Paris real quick. We went to Paris a couple times before we truly like fell in love with Paris, and now I would say that like we really enjoy Paris, and it's one of our favorite international cities. It's one of our favorite cities in Europe, up there with London, if not, beyond London, and it's a great place.
Yes, Blaine, the sewer museum was just crappy.
Yeah, it was gross. Napoleon, built it or whatever, but it was gross.
I had to leave. It was awful.
She didn't want to go from the beginning, but I was like, it's part of the Paris Pass. Like,
we have to go hit all. Derek's like, we got to go hit all of the Paris Pass things to get our money's worth. No, don't.
I'll let you.
Anyway, if we missed anything, let us know. Vagabonnie Bonnie seems to really like Moulin Rouge. Yes, Eric Brown. Peachy is living the life. He
He's a
so he
spoiled
has like
dog.
summer. So he has issues in summertime. He's not good with like the heat. So he's just had a rough day, but he seems to be really loving Derek's pets right now.
Food tour in Paris is cool. Yes.
Yeah, and also they do like similar to what we did tonight. If you were on at 7, like hours ago when we first started talking, we said we did a cheese tasting class tonight,
Yep.
like before this started. That was with Murray's Cheese in New York City, which is like in the Flatiron District and stuff.
Yeah, Murray's is great.
But there's a
Really
ton
good.
of cheese tasting opportunities and like wine tasting and cooking classes in Paris too. We just haven't spent our time on those things when we've been there. But I have a friend who was like, take this cheese tasting class. They pair wines with it, do it. So I think a lot of people really, really enjoy those types of things too. We just haven't done it
How is breastfeeding?
yet. He's having a day.
Love you, bud. Okay.
Yeah.
What else we got? Anything else to talk about?
Well,
Or
Megan
you
was
close
saying,
to
I
it?
hope you were wearing closed-toed shoes for that tour. We were. Like I was mentioning last night, we almost always wear closed-toed shoes when touring around like bigger cities and stuff like that. That's super important. Even if it's like 90 degrees outside, not only do closed-toed shoes typically give you like better arch support and just better soles and stuff like that. Typically, like that's a generalization, but like typically, they just protect you from like the dirt of cities and stuff like that. So yeah, I always try to wear my like silver sneakers that I have mentioned in past videos, and Derek has a lot of good touring around shoes too. Yeah, so yeah, Bonnie was saying food tour is cool. Lori Sims says, oh no, I waited for him on the veranda with cocktails until he finished at his leisure. So, I think that's like Lori saying that her son was going through the Louvre. That's amazing. Malcolm says, I have done a bike tour in Paris. Great, except the drive on the wrong side of the road for me. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah. New Zealand drives on the other side of the road. I know that in France, they drive on the same side of the road as us because Napoleon, I guess, was left-handed.
Okay.
No, really. I learned this on
Like a good lefty.
PBS
I'm a
show or
lefty.
something. Yeah. And so he wanted to be able to like use, like joust people basically on his horse. But he was left-handed, so he made a rule that we drive on the right side of the road, so that way he could like joust people on the lane.
So Scorpio Sue says, I'd love to eat my way through Paris. I'm willing to eat many croissants and baguettes. So yeah, so my whole thing is like food tour. So my whole philosophy with travel is that food is an integral part of culture and the experiencing other people's cultures. So for me, when I go to places, I'm always going to try to eat local, drink local, all that kind of stuff. So if that means I'm in the UK and I'm going to have like a old cask ale, or I'm going to go to Paris and drink Côte de Provence, or a phenomenal
Or a Loire wine.
a Loire white, a Sancerre, a Vouvray.
This one is so yellow, by the way.
It is golden.
Like, this is yellow.
It's very golden. I will do that. In Germany, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna drink beer. I'm gonna eat sausage. Have some pretzels, stuff like that. So, for me, it's all about experiencing the local cuisine. And in France, the beauty is that you can have so much different like textures, flavors, terroirs, etc. It's phenomenal. So
Yeah.
highly recommend it.
Yeah. Love the crepes.
I feel the same in Italy.
Love the croissants. Pain au chocolat is actually my go-to in the mornings with a cafe. Yeah. It's good stuff. We love Paris. So so we basically did one city an hour. So we've covered London, New York, and then Paris. And we talked about our top hotels restaurants and activities at each place. Hope you guys all found this like super helpful for future trips to those cities. And we just really love the nostalgia of talking about it, because not only do we miss those places, but we've spent a lot of time there and feel knowledgeable enough to give recommendations. So hopefully you guys, again, found this to be useful.
I like Scorpio Sue saying, "LOL, you look revolted." I assume that is about the
sewer tour.
The sewer tour, which was pretty gross and gnarly. I don't recommend it. Just don't do it, right?
Just it's exactly what it sounds like, and it's the worst.
Eric Brown, hashtag no peas. Yes, my man. You love it.
For those of you guys who have been on for that long, thank you for giving our quick poll. To anybody who's joined, when we were talking about London, we were talking about the mushy peas that comes with fish and chips in pubs. I love them. Like, I wish the like fish and chips here in the States were served with mushy peas, and Derek like cannot stand them.
I don't like them. I always have one bite and then I'm done. Nick D though says hashtag peas please.
Yes, that's a better hashtag. So I'm gonna we win.
No
we win on hashtag.
Yeah. Me and PG don't want your darn peas.
Yeah, PG does. So I tried to feed PG a cucumber yesterday, and he does not get to eat people food. So I was like, maybe he's gonna be super excited. He spit it right out. He was like, "This is not chicken. Screw you."
PG is an old man after my own heart.
Yeah, he's like, "This isn't pizza. This isn't chicken."
You're gonna say bye to your fans, PG? They're over here.
Anyway, so thank you guys so much. This has been super fun as always. And hopefully we can all make it to New York, London, and Paris again in the future, or for the first time.
But again, DM us if you guys are planning to head into any of those cities. We'd love to talk to you in more detail and whatnot. So let us know you're going there. We can give you our, more,
we're very active on our
recommendations.
Instagram, DMs, Means to Travel, Mr. Means to Travel. But even if you want to just talk to us somewhere else, we'll try to respond. And it's been so fun just to connect with everybody about the places that I feel like are so frequently traveled, but are completely getting like nobody's there right now, including us. We miss it so much. So it's been real. Happy Thursday to everybody. Thanks for sticking with us through our sound issues and everything like that. We love this community. You guys are the absolute freaking best.
Thank you.
Seriously. And hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. And cheers. Talk to you all soon. Bye.